All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to Hash Church Season 11, Episode 27. I am tired. I went to bed late last night, spent hours in my garden gardening. Better click this record button. There we go. Let's start over. Welcome, everybody. Hash Church Season 11, Episode 27. Hope everyone's doing well today out in that world. I am about to go over our sponsors and thank them as always. And we'll see what we got going on for today. I've been, yeah, just took quite a few milligrams yesterday. My head's a little bit fuzzy, but we should be good. We're going to shout out our sponsors as we often do these days on Hash Church. So let us get to it. Big shout out to the Press Club, trusted, trusted by top hash makers from around the world since 2016. The Press Club is your one-stop shop for award-winning solventless gear. From fresh bags, press bags to wash bags to presses to vessels, you'll find everything you need from wash to press. We're big fans of the Press Club and what they're doing in the community, so we're excited to have them on board as an official sponsor for Hash Church. Made in the US, patented pink stitch, zero blowout guarantee. That's a pretty big deal. They are a small family owned business, so it's nice to support that. They've got free expedited shipping on $75 and more, and of course, international shipping is available as well. You can visit them at thepressclub.co and use code HashChurch to take 10% off your purchase. So thank you to those gentlemen. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to Puffco for powering Hash Church. Puffco's game-changing devices like the Sleek Peak Pro, the versatile proxy, and a compact pivot bring unmatched style and performance, making extracts a vibe for everyone. Their passion for cannabis culture keeps our community blazing strong. Discover the Puffco difference at www.puffco.com and follow at Puffco. Got to give those guys an extra shout out. They've done an amazing job normalizing the mainstream for dabs, and I've never seen a better job done in my short time here. So shout out to them. We've got sales going on over at Bubble Bags. Call my manager at 1866 Melting or hit her up at shipping at Fresh Headies. I think it's a 20% discount right now on a bunch of the products. Bubble bags remain the gold standard for water extraction, pioneered by the innovators who defined the craft. Built to last, these top quality bags come with a lifetime warranty guaranteeing years of flawless performance. With a legacy of excellence, the Bubble Bags team delivers unmatched reliability for enthusiasts and pros chasing the bomb. 6-star full melt hash results. Elevate your extraction game at www.bubblebag.com and use the code HashChurch10 for exclusive savings. Well, that's always fun to shout those guys out and see what we got going on today. I did just get a message from Dr. Mark saying that he is not going to be in today. So I think how we're going to start today's Hash Church is with a dab. We'll get the old unit going here. I will be giving away a Press Club package today. I don't know what it's going to be, if it's going to be a spoon, if it's going to be some bags, maybe it's going to be a spoon and some bags. I got to say, I do like these spoons. They are pretty cool. They've grown on me. I thought it was pretty cool the day it arrived, but I'm starting to think it's even cooler now. It's just a cool little styly spoon. I love the Press Club on the back. I love the Press Club on the front. And so perhaps we give one of those away. I will leave that up to the Press Club. Um, and what I will do is at about the halfway point of the show today, I will release the hounds. No, I will release the Nightbot, actually. And so that is how that will go. I kind of had a feeling today because I sent out my invitation yesterday late for Hash Church. I had a feeling today I could end up on the show without really anyone in the room. And so I was ready for it. I was kind of prepared for it. So, as you guys know, I was away last week in Manitoba. I was at a fishing tournament with my son. Still got my kind of outdoorsy marble slinger shirt on. This is the one I wore quite a bit there. And it was fun. It was amazing to see my son connect with my uncle and for them to fish and have a good time and catch some walleye and some jack and just all around have a good time. It was nice for me to get back. It was nice for me to meet this guy, Jamie, aka Sir Squishes a lot. What a nice guy. Now, I feel like I've misplaced one. Oh, it's probably over there. He gave me some very lovely things. Actually, it's in the other room. I'm gonna have to go get that at one point in time. Flavor wise, some really nice rosins, a couple of beautiful rosins. He was super fired up. I always love meeting people like that that are just fired up. He also gave me, which I do have present, which I thought was pretty cool, and this just out of nowhere. He gave me this little Homer Simpson, right? He gave me this little Homer Simpson post pillar, and he gave me a little donut carb cap. So that just goes in the slurper. That's on top, and what a cool little kind of kick down. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was pretty darn generous. And like I said, he gave me a few flavors as well, which were, of course, delicious. Um, Made a couple of shorts. I had an app that I was using called Opus Clips, and then I lost access to it. It was the weirdest thing. There was no login, and I couldn't figure out how to get in, and they don't have the best customer service. So I had a couple of weeks where I just wasn't in touch with my clipping. So this week, I did clip. I clipped. I think I put up about 4 or 5 shorts. I'm asking you, the hardcores, if you don't mind going onto my YouTube channel and finding those shorts and sharing them out. There's a good one with Mojave. There's a great one with Jeremy and Nick and Ian and Dr. Mark. And so, yeah, any exposure we can get on those shorts, that would be great. For whatever reason, YouTube, I don't know if they've rewired the algorithm, but like the views are down. Even right now, we have 100 people watching. Usually we'd have 300 to 400 watching a Hash Church episode. So I'm not sure how the shadow ban works, but if you can share it out there, that would be amazing. Awesome, Deadly Eight. Glad you've seen those. That's great. Um, Geez, I'm kind of hoping on getting this bong rip in me so I can kind of, in fact, I guess if I'm going to do a bong rip, I better get my rips, my flavors. I got some nice full melt bubble here, but I wanted to try some of this new rosin, and I guess I won't be able to because there's not a single person in the room with me right now. So I'm gonna have to send out a few smoke signals to the Vatican, as Mr. Clark would say. Where are you, Mojave? There we go. Let's get a Mojave invite out and a Colin invite out and a Ryan Lee invite out. And in the meantime, I'm happy to do a hash church by myself. When's the last time I did a Bubble Man hash church with nobody else? Maybe I'll start with a 30 milligram. Should I do that? Get a little 30, 30 mgs in my body? Probably not, considering I went to bed with 60. Good morning, Grow with Kenny. Ah, very good, very good. Let us know if you need any help there, Grow with Kenny. You can always hit us up through Instagram or on my email at bcbubbleman@icloud.com. Oh, I'm having a rip here, Deadly Eight, really, really quick. It's just a matter of waiting for it to heat up. I'm going to turn on that little unit, and hopefully we'll see some of our panel here in the near future. Like I said, I sent the invite out for Hash Church last night at, oh God, I would say late, like very late, 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So that is pushing it. I don't always do that. I try to do a little bit better, but yeah, here we go. Why don't we get this gentleman? I got a good friend that I can invite. Let's see what he's saying. See what Ted Smith is saying over on Victoria. Let's see what Alex from Hashtag is saying. This is kind of a neat thing, and it's something I've been doing for a long time in regards to inviting people to Hash Church. I just send them the invites through Instagram. Yeah. And that's probably the best way to do that. So, oh, I got an automatic reply from the Soil King. Anyway, send out a couple of Mary Jane was just on as well, so I think the Dragonfly Earth Medicine have just gotten back from that. I feel like um Ryan Lee is actually visiting Dragonfly Earth Medicine right now. I guess now would be a nice opportunity to shout out Skunkman Sam and Wade Laughter, our two, panelists, friends, mentors, inspirations, have passed on. And of course, we talk about them all the time, and we did shows specifically about them, but I just don't want them to be forgotten. I want to bring them up as often as possible. So I want to give a big shout out to those guys and let them know wherever they are that we are absolutely thinking of you guys on the regular. We miss you. Ash Church will never be the same without either of you. And it was just yeah, so shocking for both of them to move on. Yeah, Bingo and Horatio and my goodness, Frenchie Cannoli and Subcool and the list goes on and on. At this point in time, I'm starting to feel bad that I don't even remember everyone that has sort of passed and moved on. But RIP, exactly, DJs. RIP to the OG brothers. We miss you guys, and we definitely think of you guys very often. Let's get this rip a dip going. All right. Lots going on in the meantime. I'm working on a project in Canada. I've got New Mexico and Colorado just fired off. If you're in New Mexico or Colorado or Illinois or Missouri or Maryland or Oklahoma or Michigan, Nevada, potentially here soon enough, try to give us the support. If you see Bubble Man brand on the shelf, give it a shot. Hit me up, post it, tag me. I'll repost it. And I'd love to hear your critiques on it too. If it's no good, I'd especially love to hear about it. If it's good, if it's great, I'm happy to hear that as well. But we're not afraid of critiques in this game. So, oh my God, Jay Pot Lover, I'm so sorry to hear that. I think we're all going to raise our bongs for poor Rufus, who passed away yesterday. Jay Pot Lover's little doggy friend moved on to that big doggy heaven in the sky. That's always the hardest thing when we lose our dog, our pet. It's crushing, there's no doubt about it. And so we wish you the best with your difficult transition that you're going to be doing here. Oh, Dr. Mark. Dr. Mark did just send me a text saying that he was not going to be on today, but I
Hey,
could
buddy.
send him a message if I had a chemistry question. How you doing,
Can
man?
you hear me?
I can hear you
Okay, loud and clear. All right. Yeah,
loud and clear.
we're having a family gathering. It was my wife's birthday yesterday,
Oh,
and we
oh,
had
happy
we're having some
birthday.
people over. Yeah, thank you very much. And so I was in the middle of shucking the corn, and I was listening to you, and my wife goes, "Is he there all by himself?"
Yep.
I was like, "Do you need to go?" Okay, I'll finish shucking the corn. So she's shucking the corn.
You know what? Shucking the corn will always have a place in my heart. It is the last thing my sister did with my father before he
Oh
passed
wow.
away. Yeah, they shucked corn. Just a silly thing, right? He got on a motorcycle, he left her house, and they, ended up a deer hit them and killed both my father and my wife on the motorcycle that I had bought him for his 50th birthday, which was just an extra kick in the nuts. Um, but yeah, shucking corn. I haven't heard anyone even say shucking corn. Isn't it funny when people pass on the things that can remind you of them? I would have never in my life, of the 33 years that I got to spend with my father, ever have thought that shucking corn would be some last connection, not even directly through me, but through my sister. She got to do that with him the night before. So shout out to shucking corn too.
Yeah. Well, it's a bluegrass song too, right? Shucking the corn, right? It's a really fast banjo song. I know it from that banjo song, but yeah, you also shuck, what else do you shuck? Oysters and clams, right?
Oysters and clams,
Oysters,
exactly.
clams, and corn, right? They need to be shucked before you can eat them. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Good
So,
old shuckery.
yeah, lots of shucking going on, right?
Absolutely. Well, man, I'll tell you, I spent, I have this massive property here. Not massive, but it's an acre. And it's an acre of like forest. So, like 50,000 square feet of trees and different gardens. And, the people that lived here prior to me were retired and all they did was take care of their garden. And in the last, 15 years that I've lived here, it's forest and I've just let it grow over. My rhododendrons, instead of being like, up and they're like down to the ground. You can't see underneath. So I just went and spent hours just like manually trimming everything. And what a great feeling to get out into the garden and get dirty. Actually poked myself right in the eye with a fern yesterday too. I was very happy to wake up today and not feel it be in pain.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day up here in Vermont, that's for sure. And living on the lake, it comes alive in the summertime. Just, boats everywhere and kayaks and Boy Scout troops on canoe trips. It's just,
It sounds familiar. Even though it's not a
yeah,
lake out in front of me, we got the very same thing. I appreciate the winter when everyone disappears and I can go out on the ocean and there's no boats and no
yeah,
scouts and no anything.
yeah. There's a certain solitude to that, is certainly worth appreciating, right?
Absolutely. That's definitely a lake that I have to get myself on from back in the day when fish would raise money for Lake Champlain. God, I feel like that was in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. They're killing it this weekend, right? They're playing in Folsom Field out in Boulder, Colorado. Got a whole bunch of friends out there.
Nice.
Those
How does that feel
shows.
that you're not there?
We thought about going because yeah, it's my wife's birthday this weekend, so we were gonna go but yeah, as it turns out, we got a little bit of bad news. One of our dogs has got a growth on its spleen. We knew he
Oh
was having
no.
some difficulty. We didn't exactly know what it was, but turns out he's got a lot of what are called lipomas, which are just sort of like fatty deposits. You'll see this on older dogs. They just start
Yeah.
getting lumps,
Yeah.
right? Lucy had a lumpy head, right? So a lot of dogs get these fatty deposits and they end up just being, collections of fat cells, but sometimes they can get tumorous. And so he's had certain ones removed because they can aspirate them and find out that they are tumorous. But this growth on his spleen, the dog's spleen is about 8 centimeters long, and the growth is about 4 centimeters. So it's about halfway up the side of the spleen. And
Mm,
we don't know if it's cancerous or not. And it's one of those things where they can't really tell if it's cancerous until they remove the entire spleen. When they remove the
right.
spleen, they can determine whether it's cancerous. The problem is that, yeah, they can certainly aspirate certain like what they believe can be tumors and certain tumor cells. But when you aspirate it, you're basically poking a needle into a mass that's living on an organ, and that could essentially
Mm,
rupture it, and he could hemorrhage and die right then and
yeah.
there. So it's too risky to kind of do any kind of evaluations. They look at the blood cells, and if you understand like what the spleen does, do you know what the spleen does, Mark? Never pass up an educational moment, right? What does the spleen do, right?
Right.
It doesn't make insulin, right? I thought when I first thought, oh yeah, the spleen makes in. No, that's in the pancreas. Yeah. So what the spleen does,
Oh, I should know this. It filters.
yeah, it is a filter. It's kind of like the liver, but it's also it has to do with the formation of blood cells, and blood
White
cells are
ones,
actually
yeah.
formed in the bone marrow themselves, but they're kind of directed through the spleen. And the thing was, is like we didn't know, can the dog live without a spleen? And I guess you can. I mean, the dog can live. At that point, you're like, okay, well, what kind of quality of life is there? We thought right
Hmm.
when we got this prognosis, oh, he's got a growth on the spleen. Let's get prepared to put him down. But he seems to be in really good spirits, and he's eating, he's pooping, he's having good, you know, quality of life. So we're not ready to rush him into surgery. Just to prepare him to get to surgery, just the two visits we've had where we've had two ultrasounds and one x-ray and some medication and some blood work has been over $4,000. So I mean, this isn't like something that, yeah, I mean, like we don't even spend that much on our healthcare, let alone on the dog's healthcare. So yeah, so always difficult when you get to he's 12 years old, and you're like, okay, well, he was a rescue pup. He's had a great life. My kids grew up with him as a dog, and of course, they want me to just empty your savings account and just, do whatever you need. Give the dog chemo, give the dog radiation, give the dog whatever it needs to stay alive. But what kind of
Yeah.
quality of life
Well,
is
that's the lesson, right? We teach them about sacrifice
right?
because our love of the dog is what when's enough is enough, and how hard are you trying to convince
Right.
yourself that the dog's not suffering? No, 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 the dog's good. Like the dog's good. I just
Well,
was,
and you're
when I
playing God. Like, are you going to put him
it's
down
very
on
hard.
Tuesday, or are you
Oh,
putting
dude,
him
it's
down
hard.
on
It's
Wednesday?
impossible,
Or
actually. It's
it's
impossible.
it's
You always
terrible.
feel like you shouldn't have done it if you do it, and if you don't do it, you feel like you probably should have done it sooner. I had a
Right,
friend in Winnipeg where I just was when I did my show from his house, and he's got an older dog, and its front legs have stopped working. And so he's carrying it around to go to the bathroom, and it's still, he's like, dude, look at it. It's like, yeah, it looks super happy, and you're petting it, but it's kind of like we're getting to the point of no return here. When I put my little guy down a couple years ago, it was a terrible feeling, and the family was crying, and it was this whole experience. And for my kids, it was kind of like the first death experience that they
right.
really experienced, and so it was sad, and there's definitely something to do that I'm not a big fan of vets and how vets really feed that vibe with the kids. We can keep her alive. Like it's just a $6,000 surgery. She'll have a good quality of life. It's like, oof.
Yeah, I mean, unlike a human patient, you can't communicate, like you
No.
don't really know all of the symptomology. Like you can't ask the dog, gee, do you feel a pain in your stomach, or is there, you just have to go by their behavior. One thing we noticed right away is that our dog's gums and tongue was very pale. So you know how
Hmm.
it's normally like pink and fleshy looking? It
Yeah.
was looking super, super pale. And that's a sign that they're losing blood somewhere or that there's some kind of thing going wrong. You have to look at like any like panting, excess
Yep.
panting is also kind of like a sign of nervousness. We didn't know for years we're dealing with, again, a dog that, we came from a rescue. We don't know what its history was before, so you're just almost literally playing a guessing
Ooh.
game. And we thought he had acid reflux, so we were giving him omeprazole, which is just this, acid reflux pill that humans take, right? I mean, we didn't know if he needed it or not. Turns out he doesn't have acid reflux at all. We've been giving him this pill forever just because, again, we don't know. We just can't talk to the dog and say, well, what's
Uh,
bothering you?
that pill's not working.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Hey,
Welcome,
Colin, what's
Colin.
up?
Blue Sky
What's up,
Colin.
guys? I'm on the continental divide right now. I just thought I'd pop in for a sec. I'm in transit, but hopefully you guys can hear me.
All
We can hear
right.
you. What are you doing on
Hopefully
the
you guys are
Continental Divide?
hiking around with two little kids, having fun, just jamming
Okay.
around. Yeah.
That's what's
Just
up.
chilling.
That's what's up.
We're at 11,307 feet right now. So
Damn. That's pretty up there.
yeah,
That's almost
yeah,
twice the height of Whistler Mountain. Give people an idea.
100%.
You probably drove the
Yeah,
majority of the first 6,000. I guess with little kids, you probably drove the whole thing. All right, it's time for dad.
a little bit, but it's beautiful up here. It's amazing. It's just really good. I probably lose connection. I lost twice already, but just say hi. When I get stationary, I'll pop back in.
That'd be awesome, dude. Super mellow. Just me and Dr. Mark in here today. Putting some invites out to some other folks.
Nice.
Ripping some dabs. And hopefully, yeah, getting into some
Right on.
conversation. Last week's conversation was just so fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. Well, I'm gonna wrangle my troops here, and I'll be on in an hour. Big love, boys.
Sounds good, brother. We should still be here. We'll see what goes on. I just had to
Is
loosen my logos. I had to loosen the logos, Dr. Mark, with a fat rip. Now I'm ready to talk for 3 hours.
I wonder if he went to the fish show, right? Fish shows
Right?
out in Boulder, right? If he's in Colorado, maybe he did. Who knows?
Is he in Colorado? Is that what he said?
I think he said he's on the Continental Divide. That to me says Colorado.
Right. Well, it definitely follows the Rocky Mountains, but is the Continental Divide only in
Yeah, because
Colorado?
yeah, sure,
Okay,
sure.
okay. Yeah. I've
Front
never
range,
been to Colorado myself, so I don't know.
yeah, front range of the Rockies. It's like the the rain falls on one side, it flows to the Gulf and to the Mississippi. It flows the other way. It flows to the Colorado River in the Pacific. So the
All
divide is the
right.
hydrological apex, right?
So it seems like it goes through Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Yes, that's right. That's
Well,
right.
that's a pretty I guess to be a continental divide, you can't just be in one state.
Oh no, not at all.
You
Yeah.
got it goes into Mexico, it goes up into Canada, up to Alaska. Holy shit.
Well, you know that fish song, the wedge, right? Take the
Yeah.
highway through the
Take the
great divide.
highway to the great
Yeah,
divide.
so in Wyoming, it's super interesting, Marcus, because it's a plateau. So like you drive up on like it's not just a ridge of mountains where, if you pee on one side, it goes to the Atlantic, pee on the other side,
Right.
it goes to the Pacific. It's just this huge plateau. But yeah, it's just a hydrological thing, like where the rivers and the headwaters do they feed ultimately the Mississippi River, or I guess going down the other side, it would be the Colorado River, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just this geological distinction, right? The
Well,
great.
I'm gonna go check it out when I get my waiver here soon. I'm hoping that
Yeah,
I
so
get
tell
it
us
in a
about that.
month.
When are you coming to the States?
Well, I don't know. I have no plan to come, but I figure the second I get the waiver, the plan will come together pretty quick. I have partners in 7 different states that would love to see me, that are waiting to bring me. And then obviously I've got a bunch of different places that I would like to go and people I would like to visit. I'm gonna have to figure it out though, because I mean, my goodness, with 7 different states that I'm in right now, if I went for just like even just a short, like 3 day, 4 day trip, that would be a month away from home to hit those
Yeah,
seven
that's a long
states
time.
just for 3 or 4 days. It is a long time. So I'm gonna have to break it up and figure it out and, probably hit Michigan first and then from Michigan go out to some of the other spots. But I'm hoping August. August will be, I think, 8 months since I applied for the waiver. So it's apparently they have to send it to Virginia. And I don't know if that's Homeland Security or DOJ or who
Yeah,
it
it sounds
is.
like it. Yeah.
But it's Virginia for sure. And then they do all
FBI,
their, yeah, it wasn't FBI. He said it was federal, but it was like, I don't know. I
probably
thought I remember
Homeland
the
Security.
Yeah, it was Homeland was one, but I think he also said DOJ. I was kind of like, oh, geez. So they just, it goes to them. They do research. They punch a bunch of things into their computers. The border guard had a very good, from what he saw on his computer, which obviously he didn't tell me when I was being denied at the border. He told me that I would get it. He said, "Oh, you're going to get it for sure." He said, "I bet you get the 5 year because often they'll give you the 1 year, then they'll give you a 2 year, then they'll give you a 5 year, and you have to pay each time." And he said, "When they're really not worried about you at all, they give you the 5 year. So that's when you know you've." He says, "You haven't been here for like 30 years and you haven't been committing crime, so you should be good." I was like, "Exactly." Pretty excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like coming down to the US is a big deal, man.
Well, certainly, yeah. I mean, how many years has it been?
Like almost 30. I was at Fish at the Gorge in 98.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, that's been a while, right?
I know. That's been a while. Dude, lifetimes ago. Are you kidding me? Holy smokes.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
think of this mullet I got going on? Not bad, eh, Dr. Mark?
yeah. I don't know. Takes you back to the 90s, right?
Well, it's pretty long on top as well, so it's not really a mullet. It's only a mullet if I put it under the hat and make it pretend mullet. It's a pretend mullet. So what are you puffing on over there?
Right now, nothing. I just ran down here to get the thing. Let's see. I got my Puffco upstairs. Um,
Yeah, I got my Puffco in the other
I'm
room.
not ready to do this.
That's
I was just
awesome.
coming on for a little while. I got my family coming over here in just a couple hours, so I'm gonna have to duck soon. But you know,
No
I
problem,
didn't
dude.
want you to be on there
I'm
all by
committed.
yourself.
Dude,
You
I'm
know?
committed to doing Hash Church by myself today. I don't have a problem with it. I feel like if I let it happen, the possibility of something magical occurring, whether it's, someone that hasn't come on before, whether it's just like, I'm just sending the links out on Instagram. And I mentioned to the group, I sent this out very late last night. Sometimes I forget. I wish on Sunday night I could resend the invite for the new show, have it up and running, and that's kind of what I'm working on doing. But I love the little bit of laissez-faire aspect of Hash Church in the sense that it doesn't have to be as serious as a heart attack, although sometimes the information that we release is as serious as a heart attack. The overall experience does not have to be like that. So yeah, I'll just sit here and smash dabs into oblivion and talk about anything that comes to mind. Really mostly the excitement of all these new projects of getting back into Canada. I've got a group I'm so close with right now to get back into Canada, which I'm quite excited. It sucks to not be in my own market, like I should be in the Canadian market, but ooh, I'll tell you, it was a wicked hard market to be in for a long time. It's only
Well,
just
um, what's the difference between the Canadian market and where you're working in the US market? I mean, is it just
well, there's pretty massive differences. Like just to give you a really basic idea. All of our packaging looks like this in the Canadian
yeah,
market. This
right,
same product in the American market looks like this. So that's just the base. Look at the size of my logo on this, the B versus
right.
this. This B cannot be bigger than this cannabis leaf. Your cannabis leaf has to be bigger than your so all this bullshit. You can't advertise, you can't do this, you can't blah 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 blah. The main thing is in Canada, if I have a partner, that partner has to be the right partner because they're for all of Canada. It's an exclusivity for all of Canada. In the US, I have state deals that are exclusive. So I can have upwards of, I mean, I could have 30 to 50 partners down in the US, especially because partners don't always want to pick up my whole SKU range. So I tell them you have exclusivity and first right of refusal for the SKUs in your state. The ones that you don't choose, I will go make other deals with. So I could have 4 people in New York as partners because these guys wanted these 3 SKUs, these guys wanted these 2 SKUs, these guys only wanted one, and these guys wanted 5. And then I can cover the gamut that way. So The US is, because it's not federal, it's broken up into compartmentalization, and that can both work for and against you. It's nice to have a multitude of partners so you can see who's moving the best and who's doing the most exceptional job. And then you can take what they're doing and sort of bring it back to your other partnerships and groups. In Canada, it's one group, so you got to make sure the group you're picking is seriously organized and has the right team. Now, the sharp end of the Canadian sword is that when you get into a new market, say a province, you get the whole province. So if Ontario accepts your SKUs, you are now selling to Ontario, and they might buy, 100 grand or 150 grand. They might buy 20 grand, or 10 grand, but whatever they buy, it now goes into Ontario. Now any store, any of the 1,500 stores in Ontario can go on the computer on purchase day and see that your products just came in, and they can buy them if they like. So in the US, it's not like that. When I get into a state with a new state partner, I don't automatically am selling to the state, which houses everything and then sells it out to, because that's only how Canada does it, which can work against you as well. Because if they say no to your SKU, that's an entire province of people you are no longer able to sell to if your SKU gets bounced. So I like the difference between the two. In Canada, it took me a lot longer to find the partner. I had to find the most exceptional partner, the people who have all their shit together. They've dotted all their I's, they've crossed all their T's. Everything is perfect, and they have the bandwidth and the capability and the teams to execute and popularize my brand. That took years to find. There's tons of people that want to do my brand. There's very few that want to do it right. And so I learned that actually from having a lot of different partners in the US. I couldn't learn that in Canada where I just make one partnership and then I kind of got to ride it out for years and hope that it takes the right direction. In the US, I sign up deals. I make it really easy for both parties to get in and out of. And we tried in Washington. Washington didn't really pan out, so we ended that relationship amicably. We went to go in Oregon not too long ago, and just as we were about to sign the deal, they lost their farm. Like they ended up some not CRA, but whatever, Revenue Canada, IRS. They ended up losing their farm. So, it's good to make it so it's amicable and it's not like you're suing people soon after you've signed a contract. I really like the idea of getting into partnerships and not like rushing through them, but recognizing what's wrong. I gotta be honest, like Tony taught me this more than anything, because my partnership with Tony soured so terribly when it went bad that I learned a lot from it actually. And I certainly don't resent him and I don't blame him. I was a part of it as much as he was a part of it, but I learned a lot from it. And I learned not to allow partnerships to drag on when they're long dead. I learned to pay attention to red flags. I learned to just execute quicker when things aren't going the way you want them to go, not be so patient. And I also learned not to allow, because I want to be friends with my partners, but not to allow friendship to lower or affect the integrity of the partnership and the business. And I think sometimes that can happen. So yeah, I learned a lot from it, and now I'm in a better place because of it. And I got some great partners. Shout out to Marshall and Dredd in Illinois. Shout out to Cabo and Clover in Oklahoma. Shout out to Ted in Missouri. Shout out to Ted and Ryan and Daniel in Colorado. Shout out to Daniel in New Mexico. Shout out to Mike and Steve and Ryan in Michigan. And shout out to Seth and Sean and team in Maryland. I think that is the gamut. It's hard sometimes. You guys have a lot of states down there.
Yeah, there's 50 of them. So
Jesus.
so how like if there's people who are listening who make good hash and grow good weed and they want to be your partner, like how I think we've talked about this on an episode, like how do you evaluate new partnerships and how do people like do you approach them or do they approach you? Or
I don't
I
approach
imagine
anyone.
combination of both, right?
It's well, I've already approached them in the sense that the people who know, first of all, a very small percentage of people even know who I am. And that percentage of people is the group of people that I rely on. Those people often have jobs at facilities. They might be the main hash maker, they might be a hash maker that just got hired, but those are my cheerleaders. And when I get a proponent like that, who's actually a good hash maker and he's being listened to by his team, 9 out of 10 times that guy will bring me to the table. And there's a few reasons why. A, he wants to get under those Bubble Man SOPs. If he can, he's already learned a lot from me and the internet, but if he can be doing my brand, he's like, look, if I can bring your brand into my state and introduce you to my team, A, I'm going to be the hash maker to run that brand for sure. I'm going to get some goodwill with my team if the business goes well, if they like you, if they sign a deal, and I'm the one that brought you to the table. I tell people all the time, you could certainly broker me into your company, whether you want to broker me at a fee or whether you want to broker me for a position. Some people that don't have positions bring me to companies and say, look, I can bring this guy to the table. I want to be the hash maker. I've been following him for 20 years. I've watched all his videos, this, that, and the other thing. So that's kind of that spark of passion. Basically, the people who watch this show, Dr. Mark, our audience, right? The people who see you at a grocery store and they're like, Dr. Mark, what up, dude? Those people, when they work at facilities, and I'm guaranteeing sure it would be the same if you were to do the same idea that I'm doing, and I know you do it to a degree already, but people that know who you are, that have been impressed with you for years, would of course want to work with you. And if they knew they could broker you into their facility, even to consult or to create products or to bring knowledge, they would. And so that's what happens to me. I end up getting in front of these leadership teams and they don't exactly know who I am, but I can convince them what they need to hear because it's truth. Rosin products have, solventless products have large margins. I bring a variety of products to the table. A lot of the hash makers are like, let's press at 140 Fahrenheit and get a much smaller return and have the Instagram podium. And I spent 25 years in the podium and yeah, let's create the best, create the best, create. Now I'm more of the understanding of business that like, yes, we should have podiums, but we should have podiums in every caliber of product, not just the highest grade. What about like a farmer's grade hash, like a traditional temple ball? Well, you don't make temple balls out of bubble hash that are 71% THC. The people who have smoked those in the past, that's not going to check the box for them. They need it to check all the boxes of nostalgia. So I started creating these nostalgia products, brick hashes, temple balls. I created that didn't create, but worked with my friend from the Kootenays there who originally created the pure hash joint. So we sell that pure hash joint, the wraps. We sell the hash hits, breaking those up. Hash hits is certainly not what I would call a podium. Like if you brought hash hits and entered a Legends of Hash with it, it wouldn't even place. But that doesn't mean the product itself isn't exceptional in its own right. It serves a much broader range of people than dabs do. And it's super, super convenient, unlike dabs, unless you have a Puffco, which is, still $100 to $400 in order for you to have a hash hit. All you need is a lighter. You just grab a lighter, you light it up. It's just a little tube. We're doing ceramic bowls now. So all of these ones are still
Well,
the stainless bowls, but we're doing ceramic ones now
in states
in
that
Colorado.
don't allow consumption, like there's a couple states down here where it's kind of like they sell flour and they assume that everyone's got like a volcano or
Right.
axe, or vaporizer or something like that. It's like so there's still again prohibition against combustion of any kind. Like in Pennsylvania, I know you can get you can get hash, you can get concentrates, and I know that they assume that you're consuming the concentrate by heating it up, but they don't allow, smoking. So they don't allow there's no pre-roll market there. So to the
Which is kind of
hash
crazy.
hits, is that a that's kind of like a pre-roll, right? That means
Oh,
combustion, right?
oh, it's combustion. Yeah, you have a point 0.2 of a gram of hash right in the tip. and you're smoking hash, 100% combustion.
What's yeah. Because I always thought, again, I don't know. The whole notion of like the medical market was that the doctors don't like combustion. They don't like inhalation, right? Uh, and I
Yeah,
don't think
but in their defense, they do like oxycodone and it's killed
yeah,
millions of
that's
people.
right. They do like
So
oxycodone,
we
right?
gotta I'm not against doctors. I always say in Western medicine too, if I ripped my arm off today, I would be there praising those people and the job that they do. When it comes to trauma and emergency, I'm so very, very impressed with it. The problem with, it's the comparison because you can't imagine combustion could be a medicinal thing. Well, I'll tell you, you watch the David Suzuki, The Nature of Things, where he came here to the Compassion Club and he interviewed my friend Crash, who's 26 years old at the time and had advanced MS, shaken like a motherfucker. I'm telling you, you would be tired just watching this man shake, Mark. You can't help but tear up. He's shaking all the time, like he's basically having a seizure. He's basically having a seizure all the time. He can't talk. If you put a glass bong next to his mouth, he would chip his tooth and break the pipe. Like he's really. Then they roll him up this fatty gagger with hash and oil and weed, and he's smoking it, and his head's shaking, and Hillary Black is trying to hold it in his mouth, and he's shaking, and he's going back and forth. He's literally talking. This is how he speaks. He just gets stuck on every syllable. He smokes like 3 or 4 puffs of that joint. And I'm telling you, he was like this at the start. He's now like this. And he's like, as you can see, I'm able to talk now. And that's just him coming out of it. Once he gets a little more high, he's not quite speaking like you or I. There's still a choppiness to the cadence of his voice. But man, I'm telling you, it's the miracle of miracles. No one could be against medicinal cannabis being used in combustion. And it's the same thing. I mean, of course, vaporizers and cost, but the bottom line is people don't have money. And if you've got glaucoma and you want to relieve ocular pressure, nothing works better than taking a puff from a joint that you rolled yourself. Rick Simpson was using naphtha to cure his cancer. No one would acknowledge that naphtha is a medicinal solvent, especially filled with lead and rust inhibitor that wasn't even guaranteed he wasn't distilling it out. And he still, I mean, butane was the same way. People were shrinking cancers out of their body using butane oil before they were removing methyl or the ethyl mercaptines.
Yeah.
So the fact is, the plant is so bloody medicinal that,
It
yeah.
overcomes all that.
It seems to. I mean, why do cannabis smokers? I smoked so much, dude. And I'll tell you, it was Steve Cubby. I don't know if you know Steve Cubby, but he was a big proponent of cannabis back in the day in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in California. Big California guy, had a ski magazine. He'd be on the cover of it with his tan and his whole family was just a super trip. And I met them years ago. He had this disease where tumors would grow on his adrenal gland, whatever, and it would just pump adrenaline into his body. And these people don't live past 30, Dr. Mark. It's like in their blood is acid. It just turns their organs, not their organs so much, but their arteries, it turns them into like wet tissue paper. They just dissolve, right? There's just too much adrenaline pumping through. It's constant adrenaline. This fucking guy would smoke, I'm telling you, like 50 joints a day. And when I met him, I was like, I wanted to turn him onto the bubble and be like, dude, that's too much. Like, you can't, like, there's no way smoking 50 joints a day is healthy. Like, it's just not, like, that's not good. And so he goes down. This is a couple years after I know him. He's like, I'm going down. And I can't remember the one. I think you guys have a couple of down there. Mayo Clinic might be one of them where you go to this expensive hospital and you pay like 40 grand or 25 grand or whatever. And they just do a test on every aspect of your body, all these multi-million dollar machines. They tested his lungs, his eyes, his everything. And I'll never forget it because he showed me the test. His lungs, they set him up to this giant machine and he was blowing into this machine. And he was 56 years old at the time. And his his report came back that he had the lungs of a 25-year-old Olympic swimmer. This is a guy that smoked 50 joints a day. And the reason he was smoking the joints was to reduce the production of adrenaline in his body. And it was working. There just was no doubt about it that he was not, well, he was the oldest living person with that disease, I believe, in North America that had ever, because he ended up living till I think he was just under 70 years old. And
Well,
the
Michael
average
Phelps
age was
is
30.
probably the benchmark, right? I mean, look at Michael Phelps, right?
Yeah. Well, they test them all and then they have categories. So when you go get certain things tested, they can tell you like, "Oh, you're like, you're the equivalent of a 65-year-old smoker or you're the equivalent of a 25-year-old Olympic swimmer." Those are very different things.
Yeah, I know swimmers are incredible. I did a little bit after she was on that episode with us. I did a
Amy,
little bit of yeah, of homework on that lady who was on, and she's a badass.
dude, Amy's a total badass. We want to have her on again. I mean, do you remember when I said, "What do? You win all the gold medals and then what? You get on the Wheaties box?" And
Get
she's
on the
like,
Wheaties box, and she's yeah, right here.
I
I'm on
couldn't
the
believe
Wheaties
when she
box.
pulled the Wheaties box out. There's a very small percentage of human beings that have lived on Earth who have been on the Wheaties box.
On the
I did the
Wheaties
math.
box.
It was like I can't remember if it was 18 or 27 or what it was, but it was a very low number when you think of the 8 billion people who are alive.
Yeah. Well, and then all the memes, right? Wheaties, right? That's
Wheaties. Oh, of course.
could have a lot of fun with that.
No, it's amazing.
No, I mean
What?
it. Yeah, just again the exciting talk that we saw down at CanMed, which basically shows that your brains are wired for whole plant medicine, and your brain can tell synthetic D8 from whole plant medicine, and it's all about the terpenes. And yeah, I think it would be really cool to really get a lot more of that research done. I mean, it's so cool to look at like things that actually have an effect and it's not just some superfluous correlation. I mean, it's definitely one thing is leading to the other. This
Absolutely.
level of psychoactivity um, that he was measuring again doesn't have anything to do with THC content, has more to do with terpenes and everything that we know, right?
This is the book that Jeremy shouted out by Luca Turin, The Secret of Scent, Adventures in Perfume and the Science of Smell. So I ordered this the other day, and I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of aroma and scent. And yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I just loved listening to Ian and Nick and Jeremy break it down. Jeremy's under
Yeah.
NDA, but if he wasn't, he would have been sharing a whole different level of stuff. I think this is the most exciting direction that cannabis is taking right now, and it's undeniably taking the direction. I think it might be what we're looking for in regards to how cannabis is purchased and how it is sold. So we can get away from COAs and THC numbers. If THC could just be the base and people could understand that really, and it shouldn't be difficult because people already understand this at the most basic core of their nature. When they go pick a drink, they pick it based on a flavor profile that they like. When they pick gum, when they pick like any sort of anything, it's based on how it tastes. Cannabis is, going to be much the same, how it smells and tastes, how close those two are together, the smell to the taste.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should be like a sommelier, like a wine kind of thing, but I mean, not to be biblical, but it is, the fruit of the vine and the work of human hand. It's that intersection between, you know, artisanal, craftsmanship when it comes to not just cultivating, but, picking the apples, which is hash making.
Well, that's
And
just it.
yeah, it
You're getting
it's it's
into
great.
frequency.
Jeremy, I tell you what, I mean, when I first saw True Terpenes and the way that they were advertising and pushing, it was almost like over the top, like, oh, these are botanical terpenes, right? Like they're not necessarily derived from cannabis, but they're marketing them to be added to cannabis products. So it's good that they have people like Ethan and Jeremy, who, again, we know just from Hash Church and just everything that they've done, that these two people are true to the plant and true to the nature of what cannabis is, and aren't just going to take a paycheck to promote, snake oil to dilute your vape pens with, you know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, I think the interesting aspect about these thiols, Marcus, is that they're they're so fleeting, and there's so much less of them in cannabis than, say, terpenes, which are in there around percent, half a percent, fraction of a percent. These things are in there as a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent. They're there so in such small quantities, and they're fleeting. They disappear, they volatilize. That what we call them, volatile organic compounds, right? So in a way, those compounds, because those are the first to go, are indicators of freshness, like, how fresh is this cannabis? Well, measure your thiol content. That'll tell you. The longer that cannabis or hash has been sticking around, the more likely it's lost some of these most volatile components, right? It totally makes sense, right? So it could be used as kind of like a, a a metric or an indicator on how fresh cannabis is when it's cannabis is stored, like in a warehouse, in, turkey bags or wherever, just in big plastic bins. I mean, shit's going to degrade, and you're going to lose. Now, it's not all cannabis is created equal. So I think some varieties and the way that they're trimmed and prepared might have more higher susceptibility to loss of those compounds, because you're increasing surface area, and anything that's exposed to air ultimately is exposed to oxygen. And so those thiols can oxidize up. And when that happens, it changes their flavor, changes their volatility. There's lots of things that can happen. So it's, yeah. So those compounds, the butene thiols and whatnot, those things which are in there in just like parts per million and parts per billion concentration, which is really difficult to reliably measure in a testing lab. But our
Well,
noses.
that becomes the big problem right there. And that's kind of why when we first started talking about this show, Nick mentioned the analytical chemists that put together the equipment that perceived the
Yeah.
thiols and thiolates that they were identifying at Yakima. And, because he hadn't mentioned them before. And then when I said, let's get you on, he said, well, listen, like I was a part of that work, but really these guys did it. They created the equipment, they were running the equipment. And I really wanted to get them on there because I thought and I still do, I want to do another show as quick as possible where they can come on and talk a little bit about putting that analytical equipment together. Because he said it was like a Frankenstein, it was like putting a multitude of pieces of equipment together to create this super sensitive capability of perceiving, beyond the parts per billion. That's the real problem right now. None of these cannabis labs are going to be able to, tell you if you have 3-methyl 2-butane 1-thiol, or any other prenylated volatile sulfur compounds for that matter. They just don't have the ability to perceive that small. And I think it was okay because the cannabis industry just thought, oh, aromas, those are just terps. And yeah, this is like 3% terps. So it's like, why would we talk about something that was 0.0001% when there's 1.6% D-limonene. So obviously that's
Yeah,
what we're smelling.
because those things are so much more powerful
Well,
olfactorily, if you
yeah.
will.
Well, it's us. I don't know. I don't
Right.
know if it's them or us or both, but it's like our ability to perceive those compounds are so fucking sensitive,
Yeah. So
which you have.
why would that be, Marcus? Think
Well,
about that.
the only thing that I can think of is it's almost like a genetic memory, like the groundhog that's never seen a hawk shadow before, but when
Well,
the hawk
why do you
shadow
think
goes
humans
over,
evolved with an acute sense of smell of shit?
well, because if you shit where you eat, you die.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
It's like
Or if
the
you eat
ultimate
rancid
life.
meat, if you eat
You
rancid
die.
meat, you'll die. If
Yup.
you aren't of the right caliber of hygiene, let's call it that, you can die. So yes, so I think our noses have evolved to smell that stuff at very small scale. So when I guess I don't know, you're smelling a piece of rotting flesh and you're like, "Hey, you know what? That smells too gross. I'm not going to eat that." But like, I would go back and even think about, why would the plant evolve those kinds of scents and odors, And ultimately, what it did is it attracted, hominids, right? It attracted humans, right? Terrence's thing about the stoned ape and all that. I mean, like the first, you know, being that basically said, "Hey, man, boy, this stuff smells really interesting. And they probably ate it, right? I imagine they smelled it and they're like, wow, that probably tastes good enough to eat. Let me try eating that, right? There's enough fruity and citrus notes in there that they started eating it. Then they got it all over their fingers. Then the next thing they know, they're like high. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, interesting to think about the prehistoric evolutionary aspect of humans' interactions with the plant, right?
It's
I mean,
absolutely incredible. I've just been asking Grok at what it knows about thiols and thiolates and cannabis. It printed up about 6 pages of very interesting reading. I'll try to post it in the description of the video at the end. And then I just asked it about why humans are so sensitive to the in the olfactory to scatol and to other
yeah,
related sulfur-containing compounds. And it's like, yeah, we can smell it in parts per billion or even parts per trillion. We can detect it at extremely low concentrates, making its smell seem disproportionately intense relative to its actual presence in the environment, which is quite something. There's definitely
yeah,
reasons why we can smell those.
yeah. So, like you bring up is a really interesting point because it depends on the concentration. And so, like, even like with some of these thiols, they were talking about them last week, is that above a certain concentration, they all just smell like burnt rubber. They have like that burnt rubber kind of condom kind of smell. I don't know how else to describe it. If you've ever driven through Gary, Indiana, it smells like Gary, Indiana. It
You
smells like
burning condoms over there, Dr. Mark?
wherever there's oil refinery going on because they use sulfur in oil refining to manage hydrogen. So if you think about hydrogen, like when they crack when they crack petroleum, petroleum is like really high molecular weight, and what they're trying to get down to is something like gasoline, which is really low molecular weight. And so the way that they do that is through this process called cracking. And in that cracking process, they have to manage hydrogen. And so the way that they manage hydrogen at petroleum refineries is using sulfur. And the reason why sulfur works so good is because sulfur, like oxygen, will pick up hydrogen to make hydrogen disulfide, which is what rotten eggs smells like. If you've ever driven by a paper plant, you could smell rotten eggs. That's because they use sulfur in removing lignin from what they call black liquor, which is what you get when you basically process wood pulp. But to make a long story short, Marcus, it's kind of crazy because you think of it like this too, like like all those sulfur compounds, in fact, the things that they're putting into natural gas to flavor it, so you know when you left a burner on, oh my gosh, our noses could smell at very, very low concentrations. And those are way below the explosion limit for natural gas. So it's thought of that someone would smell that gas leak before turn off the burner or whatever, you
And
know.
that's
That,
mercaptans. That's what
yes,
thiols
those are
are. They're
mercaptans.
mercaptans.
So, and those are intentionally added back to what's called LNP, which is liquid natural petroleum, which is a mixture of just, you know, ethane,
Yeah, it's
methane.
it's it's illegal to move odorless gas through cities.
That's right. That's
That's
right.
that's that's the driving force, at least behind, oh, we're gonna need to,
Right.
rotten
So
egg up the propane and
when
the
you see those big tankers either on the highway or on rail cars, yeah,
exactly.
those have to be flavored. And I guess the other thing is so
Dude, imagine, wouldn't it be
like
interesting to find how little they put into each one of those giant containers, whatever they are, 5,000 gallons or what, I'm not sure exactly what they are.
well, it's so little. It's like again, it's parts per million or parts per billion. But so check this out. Where I was going with this
You
is
think it's an
you
ML?
got to know like the first people who were butane blasting were blasting with sulfur tainted butane, right?
100%.
Yeah, the butane.
That's why Indra originally got a hold of me, dude. Indra reached out to me and was like, "You have to tell these young people what they're doing." And I'm like, "Listen, no one's going to listen to me. They think I'm the anti-butane because I had started
Yeah,
bubble bags. He released the butane method. People were blowing up, and he was getting, the police were basically sending him like, "Oh, look, another kid blew up," and so he started, feeling pretty bad about that. He never in a million years thought that would happen. And then he was the first person, I'm telling you, 25 or 24 years ago, he sent me
yeah.
information on ethyl mercaptan, the particular ones that were going into these compounds. And yeah, he just he broke it all down and he wanted me to share the information. I was like, dude, nobody is going to listen to
Well,
me about this.
yeah.
I'll
I
bring you
mean,
on my show. You can tell them.
John was definitely. I mean, he was on to something, and he knew a lot of engineering and thermodynamics without actually learning it in a classroom, right? He learned it from just doing it, right? And so what he had realized is that if you take if you take butane through, so he was his system, right? His big tank with the big recovery thing, blah blah blah, whatever, that he would get like this mystery oil like from running a blank. So he it would leave that behind
Correct.
while he distilled
The mystery
for the
oil.
butane. So what he was asking me about, he goes, Mark, you're a chemist. You could help me figure this out. Once I distill that butane and it leaves all the heavies behind, isn't that butane now clean? I'm like, well, yeah, theoretically, you've now distilled it once. As long as you remove those heavies from the
Keep
thing,
going.
you could run it back through your system and you don't have to worry about the heavies. Um, and that was right around the time. Oh my God, John had a lot of fun with this guy. Remember the Extractor Man or Mister Extractor? This guy out of
Vaguely.
yeah, this guy out of Washington State. He had a
Oh, I
bunch of
do remember him. He'd stand in front of the the
yeah, a
the, the
bunch of YouTube
lab-like table.
videos with
Yes.
two girls with bikinis
I
and
I was
black
paying
gloves.
attention to Jim Frere, the chemist
Yeah,
at this
Jim.
time. I
Is
wasn't
Jim still
J-
around? We got to get Jim back on, right?
well, I don't know if Jim is still around. I don't see him posting anymore, and I have a bit of a bad feeling, but he had exceptional information and knowledge.
Yeah, he did. Jim was a really smart guy. I remember meeting him, maybe it was on the Adam Dunn show
Mm.
several years ago, because I think those guys knew him. But but Indra and that Mr. Extractor guy had, I don't know, they were like suing each other or whatever. But that Mr. Extractor guy, the guy with the black gloves, had all kinds of, yeah, like claims about how he had patented the process and all these people who are selling closed loop extractors are violating his patent. Uh,
Right. Sounds
all
like
this
Indra.
other all this other crap. But that's right around the time that again they figured out that there is this so-called mystery oil. So the mystery oil
Oh
is
yeah.
after you do that first distillation of your store-bought butane, what you're leaving behind in your tank are the heavies. And they had early on sent me samples because they're like, hey, Mark, you're a chemist. You could figure this shit out. What's in there, right? So there was a whole thread on 4200 and oh God, what was one of those other online things? I think it's been since taken down that talked again about like all the shit that's in that mystery oil. And
Yeah.
it's like lubricants, it's like, yeah, corrosion inhibitors. Uh, when they connect these valves, Marcus, I guess
Bingo. The
there's
lube.
there's an oil that goes into that little
Yup.
valve joint that pushes
Yup.
the valves back. So
That's
there's a
right.
little bit of that shit in there. So there's a lot of this high boiling crap in there, and that was all in the first,
Well, and my and
pass
my my
your
theory
gas.
of that, and I have this theory for a very specific reason, because my partner back in the day, Martin, who started Manitoba Harvest, the big hemp company, he was my hemp activist partner in Manitoba back in the day, and he had a father-in-law named Harvey, and Harvey was in the chemical business. And Harvey was kind of becoming more conscious, and he was getting to the point where he realized there was only really he had created a ton of toxic waste in his business, and this toxic waste now had to be dealt with. And to break it down was going to basically cost him millions and millions of dollars to do it right. Or he had like guys in the business that were like, there's ways to break these components down to parts per million and billion and put them into solvents. And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you can put them into naphtha, you can put them into propane and butane, you can put them into all these different things, and you can get rid of mountains of this stuff by people just burning it off in their camping stoves. And I was just like, that is not good, because I also had seen when, back in the 90s when my buddy from the Kootenays came here, it was actually two doors down, and he made red oil for the first time. And I hadn't really seen the process. And really the main thing he was doing was he was filtering through activated charcoal to remove pigment and color. And he could go from a blackish greenish oil to a red oil, and from red he could go to honey. He would lose an enormous amount of oil. Like it
What
was,
was his extraction solvent?
well, this is what I'm about to tell you. So he was using naphtha, but he
Uh,
was distilling it. And the shit that he was taking out of naphtha, there is no doubt about it, Dr. Mark, it is toxic waste. That
oh
fucking
yeah.
lead, that lead and rust inhibitor, I don't know what the fuck that is. It's like it looked like mercury, but it had more of an electric bluish. If you ever look at naphtha and you pour it into a glass, it'll have this electric, this sort of light greenish blue tinge, and that's what that shit is. And when you pull it out and you concentrate it, like he was like, "Don't touch it." Like don't even touch it. And I was like, dude, what the fuck do you do with that now? Like you've just created toxic waste. He's like, well, yeah, like I will say that it's not really easy to deal with. Once you clean this shit out, you can't just go throw it in a river or a lake. He says,
Yeah.
if I dump this on the lawn here, it'll kill a spot for like 5 feet in a circle. He's like, this is really bad shit. And I
Fucking
was just
lighter
like,
fluid,
I
right?
was like,
It's
oh
just
my
lighter
God.
fluid.
Well, once it was distilled, there was no presence of it anymore. But that shit, the heavies that you talk about,
Yeah.
concentrating that into your oil and smoking it,
And
it
smoke,
just
yeah.
can't be good, dude. It can't be good.
No, and you got to know that
Oh,
early on, that's exactly probably what they were doing. You know, it's different when you're in an area of the world. Uh, you, you know, I don't know what made me think about this, but just uh, in India, again, when you're in areas of the world where food is scarce and shit is scarce, they take the oil out of telephone pole transformers to cook with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What the fuck?
I know, dude. Some of that stuff is like PCB and all kinds of other laden crap. But when you're in a different part of the world and it's like, oh my God, what's inside those 5 gallon buckets at the top of telephone poles? Oh, there's oil in there. Shit, let's figure out, you know, how we could fry pig's asshole in there and, make it good or something. I don't know.
Well, I just asked Grok as well what mystery oil is in butane, and it gave me a re I'm gonna post all of these in the Hash Church group on Facebook because this is like number one, long chain hydrocarbons, alkanes
Yeah,
and alkenes, sulfur compounds, mercaptans and thiols, lubricants and mystery machinery oils, other
yeah,
impurities like trace contaminants such as residues from gaskets or seals,
right.
cyclohexane, isocyanate may also be present, likely introduced during the canning process. Some sources suggest that low-quality butane cans may contain propellants or other unlisted additives, often labels as the 1%. Yeah, I didn't tell you the evil part of the guy who was told he could put like these things into solvents to get rid of them. They also create very specific recipes. And it becomes, it's not patented, it's like know-how, like the Coca-Cola recipe. And then you don't get to know what's in it because otherwise it's the know-how. And I also thought that was like, I just didn't like the sound of that, whether it was real or not. I thought that's nefarious. Wow, that was Ryan Lee, Best Friend Farms, and Josh from Dragonfly Earth Medicine who just joined us all simultaneously. Hello, gents.
Howdy.
Good
Howdy,
afternoon.
howdy.
Kelly's here.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Kelly.
Golly. So all you got to do is start talking about mystery oil, and everybody comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah, mystery oil. What's going on with that mystery oil? Well, the health risks of mystery oil are debated. The dose makes the poison. Ah, yes, the dose makes the poison. The old infamous, the dose makes the poison. Well, I'm ready for a dab. Just happy to see you guys. So I came in all alone. I was talking alone for about 5 or 10 minutes. Dr. Mark texted me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not coming in today." And then his wife is like, "Is he in there alone? I think he might be alone. You better get in there, Dr. Mark."
I'll
So,
shuck the corn.
Dr. Mark, yeah, thank you, Dr. Mark's wife, for
Yeah,
shucking the
Kara.
corn.
Happy
Yes,
birthday to Kara.
yeah, happy birthday to Kara. In fact, I will take it a step up because anyone can wish Kara a happy birthday. But there are only a few people in this world, okay, that could wish her a hashy birthday. So hashy birthday
Ah,
to
there it
you,
is. Look at
Kara.
that.
Hashy birthday to you. Babwham. I don't know where I got that hash, but I'll never forget it. It was such a spur of the moment. I have sent that picture of hash. Any of you that are my friends have received that picture of hash on your birthday, probably numerous times, because I send it out to my friends. And one day I remember I got that hash and it was in a Tupperware container. And I remember he had pushed the lid down so tough. When I opened it, the lid was like embedded into the hash perfectly. But it was still like I always, I have a little check when I want to check to see how self-pressed my hash is. I'll give it a little sweep with my finger to see if I can, move the hash or if it's actually solidified. And that hash actually moved, and I thought, wow, that's interesting. It's holding together, but it's also falling apart. So I like took the top off, and if you look at that picture again closely, you can see that it is actually on um, the top of a Tupperware case. You can see it on the bottom there. A lot of people don't see that the first time. And I just flipped it over and pulled the top off. This also, by the way, is the correct way to use Tupperware for anything that's not a liquid, like a soap. If you're doing like a piece of fish or a cake, you don't put it inside the Tupperware. You put it on the lid and then you close the lid over top of the top. That's how you properly use this shit. Anyway, I flipped this cake over and it stayed so perfectly. I was like, "Oh my God, it looks like a cake." And I ran to go get a candle. This is another thing you have to know about me. Never would I ever want wax to be anywhere near my hash. I really sacrificed. I threw away about a gram of this hash just because the candle touched it. There was no melted wax in it, but I dug out the little area where the candle was just to sort of throw that away. And after that, I tapped it with my finger, and this whole thing just went poof and just collapsed into a pile. So it was almost, and then I put a bubble box in the background, which gives that really nice sort of warm wood color that makes the picture also quite nice. So yeah, a little history behind the hash cake for all of you out there. How's everyone doing today, man?
Well, I'm good. I'm in the Kootenays,
You are in the Kootenays. I love the Kootenays.
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's the best middle of nowhere ever, though. Plus, it's full of characters. Like you could write a book. You could write a bunch of books on the characters that live in the Kootenays and their history and they're very unique pioneers, those Kootenaites.
For
Shout out
sure,
to Dustin Sunflower.
be dedicated to be at this remotely. It's a commitment, but the people living off the land and there's some pretty beautiful things going on here. And just,
Yeah.
like where I am, I had to take a series of back roads to get here too, off of the main highways. And it's just,
Hmm.
like, you're right out there, but you get right into the BC interior and the mountains and the lakes. And it's just, dude, it's so incredible out here, as you know.
It's special and affordable. It's like you don't have to cut your arms off to be able to live in the Kootenays. Like I'll tell you, if the wife and I, what's that?
Save money on land, but for sure, like your expenses for travel and for
Of
food and
course.
all that other stuff is you pay the premium.
Yeah. But
Um,
you also grow a lot of your food and produce a lot of that stuff. So that's kind of the payoff. I know one day if Shar and I ever sell here in Lions Bay, our payoff will be good if we go to the Kootenays, if we go to the Okanagan, if we go to like Pemberton or Lillooet, north of Lillooet, Yalakom Valley and Tyotin and Goldbridge and Braylorn area. It's even cheaper up there, those little mining towns. You can buy like I could buy an entire town right now called Bradian near Braylorn, BC, in near Yalakom Valley, and you can buy the whole town. There's like 16 houses up there right now, and it's like I think it's like 1.3 million or 1.5 million or something. It's insane.
it's
You can-
remote as fuck there. I mean, it
It's
really
remote. Yeah, it's like it's probably 3 to 3.5 hours from where I am right now.
is that it? That's not
Yeah, well, you've got an hour to Whistler, then you've got like maybe another hour and a bit to Lillooet up the Duffy, and it is a very dangerous highway. So that highway all winter long is having, landslides and snow slides and avalanches and whatnot. So it's like definitely people like
it's a,
die on that highway just driving their cars.
in the summer too. I mean, it's like that's
Yeah.
right by Mount Curry. It's
Yep. Exactly.
I came down there with a trailer once.
Oof.
The brakes were smoking. I had to stop and pour a bunch of water. It was horrible.
Well, I'll tell you, the first time I ever went to Braylorn, I brought my snowmobile. It was a brand new snowmobile. I was going to this event called the Backcountry Sennheiser Picnic. And my buddy from Sennheiser convinced them to sponsor this backcountry maniac event called the Sennheiser Picnic. And so I got this brand new sled. I'm super nervous about it. I don't really know how to operate it. I'm at my buddy Free's house and I'm like, I'm just gonna take the sled because it's winter up there. I'm just driving the sled down the road. It's all covered in snow, and I'm just gonna go to the pub and go see. And everyone is like a sled pro. Like there's like Dan Treadway and his brother Dave, who passed away a couple years ago in an avalanche. R.I.P. to Dave Treadway. But all of these like rock star sled guys, like people that are like the sled necks. Like if you punch in sled necks to YouTube's, those guys. And so I get on my sled and I turn it on and I like rip down to the pub and I pull up to the pub and the guy standing there, he's holding a pitcher of beer. He's like, oh man, you didn't take your emergency brake off. Your rotor's smoking. And I look and my rotor is orange. Like it's glowing, bro. And I didn't take the emergency brake off on the sled. Well, I completely pooched the brake. He right away just like poured his beer on my rotor on the brake and was like, yeah, like probably your sled would have started on fire because it was glowing orange. That's how hot it was. And that's how sleds burn down. and brand new sled, had never taken it for a ride before, and I pooched the brake. So now I have to go to this backcountry, dangerous, they call it the knoll, where you have to go through this crazy and then up this giant mountain and over. And so now every time I'm on my way back and I'm going downhill, I have no brakes. Like no brakes whatsoever. I can't brake the sled. So I'm just like I had to learn quick how to turn the sled sideways and slide it down the mountain. And guess what? I did not have the skill to do that. So it was absolutely terrifying and freaky, but that's my brake story. And yeah, I was an idiot and everyone laughed at me. Good times. Sometimes humble pie is the best kind of pie.
You'll never do that again, that's for sure.
I never will. I never will, dude. I'm so religious. I don't even let other people do it. When I see sleds around, I'm like, hey, is your emergency brake off? I got PTSD from that emergency brake situation.
Well, there's some definite like backcountry stuff here. You know, they got like the cat skiing and the hell skiing and all that nonsense.
Oh yeah, it's amazing up there for sure.
The
Absolutely.
And snowmobile and skidooing or whatever you want to call it. Well, it's not skidooing because that's a brand name. But anyway, it's hard as hell. And our son Sky's amazing at it. I mean, he rages and does every entries and the whole damn thing. And but I mean, you kind of have to be like that in order to live in the area that we live in. You know,
You got to be able
otherwise,
to keep up, dude. Here's me on the Pemberton Ice Caps.
Oh, that's a great pick.
no, it's just
Yeah.
kind of running. It's running.
Oh, you're cutting out.
That's the truth. Our thing glitch, but it's been amazing spending time with Ryan and being at the house and walking around the farm and looking at all the greenhouses and all the plants and talking about everything.
Yeah, it's super rare for people to come out and see us. You know, we have invitations out to all of our dear friends and family members. And Mr. Ryan Lee actually made it out there. It was really incredible to actually see him on screen. We're headed over to Kelowna for a business meeting right now. Josh and I are, and it's fun to see him at our house there.
That's awesome.
Green.
It's it's a pretty good deal actually.
Yeah.
It's beautiful here. We had a storm, you know, last night and lightning, and it's just an incredible area. I mean, you know, anybody that's spent time in rural BC is, you know, and be pretty special. It's always the balance between loggers and hippies.
Yep.
Right.
You called it, dude.
It's like it's that constant battle, and it varies by like where you are in the province. But
It's the best combination.
yeah.
It's Dan Treadway and Dave Treadway, who I just mentioned, the sled guys. They always shouted out the miners, the loggers, all the people that cut the roads that made it possible for them to enter the backcountry. They could never ignore those groups. You can't get into the backcountry on a sled without those logging roads being cut in to the mountain. And so, you know, for the Pemberton Ice Caps, for a lot of that stuff, it's yeah, you can't. I mean, dirt biking is the same way. I would never have been able to see the province of British Columbia the way I have, and I've
Yeah.
seen hundreds, if not thousands, of kilometers of it on my dirt bike. You know, just ripping down these logging roads. And I was telling my Char's got some family here right now, and they're you know, they're Manitobans, but they prepare to come to BC, and they do like a massive 3 to 4 hour hike every single day that they're here. They've done a summit of a mountain, and they were showing me pictures. They did the Joffrey Lakes the other day. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Joffrey Lakes, it's up near Lillooet, and it's, you know, probably one of the most beautiful. It's up there with the lakes in Banff, but you know, obviously less people. And might be able to share actually one picture of that lake because it is so damn beautiful. Let me see if I can bring one up here real quick.
Also the miners build crazy roads, and it's
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of times the mining companies that build the road straight to the top of the peak. And that's the
Yeah.
trippy thing. You're just like at the top of crazy mountains, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh my God, there's a road that just keeps going up here and stuff. And
So
I mean,
this is
we've
Joffrey
had
Lake.
some pretty cool parts. See it.
Yeah, just beautiful. epic. And they've just been doing
Yes.
this every day. Well, I told them the other day on my dirt bike, I could summit 3 to 4 epic lake views in an afternoon. Like full mountains, totally separate, all the way up to the top, 7,000 feet, swim in the lake, come down, do another one, have a puff, come down. So it's just this sort of sped up version. I will always like love my dirt bike and my sled. And maybe one day they'll be electric and they won't be powered by fuel anymore. And that'll probably be a nice thing, not to hear the brat brap. But part of me will also probably miss the brat brap because I feel like I'm a very good mix of hillbilly and hippie or redneck and hippie, whatever you want to call it. I think it is a fun. I'll say this, Ryan. I'll say this. When I got to BC and I thought it was all the hippies that grew the best weed, I realized the people that I met that were growing the best weed were like hillbilly rednecks. They just
Hey,
like
all right.
the amount of time and energy they were putting into it. I just didn't meet, I mean, since then I've met Josh and Kelly and they're the hardest working hippies I know. But I'm telling you, some of these redneck dudes that are like living up in Lillooet and north of Lillooet, and they just plant thousands of plants and they do the most ungodly amount of work. It's impressive. It's not lazy work growing cannabis. If that's what you thought, probably it's best if you just buy a pound and flip eighths to make your money because growing it is not the same as flipping it.
And, Josh was putting in a blackout system on a greenhouse when I was showing up.
He's always doing something, dude. It's non-fucking stop.
You can see it in the property. It's like it's just nonstop. It's a lifestyle. It's like you get up and you do all your farm stuff all day, and then you stop and you eat and you sleep and you start and do it again.
Homesteading.
The only way you stop is if you have to go get supplies. It's really like
Or
that's
have an interview in Kelowna.
It is a labor of love, and all of our stuff is just handmade, and so I mean it takes a level of, I guess, detail, attention to detail. But at one point you just feel like it's chaos, but also it's also a symphony of poetry and beauty and all the plants and all the animals. And I guess we're just really possessed by it. All of us in our family, we work really hard, but I guess I don't want it to seem like it's just work. Like a lot of
It's life.
it's feeding the spirit. It's kind of following the passion, and then in some cases you get to kind of break barriers and do kind of something special. And so we kind of always felt like we lived in an area where we could embody a way of life a certain way. So we really wanted to rock that way of life as much as we could and really kind of blow it out and make it magical and super sweet and stuff. And now we're at a place of just maintaining it all and stuff. And we've been talking about how
now we're creating a second.
Yeah, we're creating a second farm, but it's one thing to create a regenerative or a polyculture or a biodynamic natural farm, and then it's another thing to maintain it. So once you have all the fertility and all the rocks and all the everything everywhere and beds made, it takes a good amount of time to keep that fertile. So,
And for me, I feel like, excuse me, I'm over here smoking amazing hash. For me, I feel like, if you're gonna raise like fish and you're gonna breed fish, you want to create the most amazing environment that you possibly can for them. You don't put them in dirty water, you don't feed them stuff, you want to get out on like to the world,
This
like
is not a
what
fish farm
your
permission.
possibility is, for growing fish. And for me, I felt like if we're going to be breeding cannabis, I wanted to really give the plants the absolute ultimate potential of what each chemovar, cultivar has individual. Ryan has been schooling us, and it's been really amazing already. We've learned so much from him being there. But to really give the plants this ultimate potential, this incredible environment that sings, and what can she do with that kind of environment? And It's
Yeah.
always been something that we've really wanted to do. And for me, growing the flowers all around the plants, like I actually think, well, the flowers need, I mean, the plants need flowers around them, just like I want flowers in my house. And they need, good, kind energy around them at all time. And they want to feel good and they want to be in good soil. And God forbid if they're too dry, or wow, if they're totally stressed out. So creating this sort of lovely environment is amazing. And I always think about it. Sorry.
The sound of British Columbia, family, right there. Got the bikers going by.
It's hard for people to understand. At least it was for me. I didn't get it until I saw it. Like you can't. It's such an immersive whole systems approach where everything's living and integrated. It's hard to imagine when you come from conventional ag like I do, because it looks like insanity chaos. But if you on a first glance, right? But when you get in and you start working with the plants and you see how it's all working together, and then Josh is explaining to me all the system of how they start pulling certain plants out at certain times, and you're freeing up space within the canopy as the plants are kind of growing into their flowering cycle, and that they don't water for the last 2 months. Right? Like all these really just crazy and like just things that seem so insane from a conventional agricultural standpoint. But it all works and it ends up producing this, it's very different. It's just the whole production system is a different way of doing things, but it has its own selective pressure on the populations. It's just a different way of putting selective pressures on the populations, right? Which is what we're all doing when we're breeding, right? You're growing a bunch of individual plants in a family or a group, and then you either let your own criteria or the environmental criteria like push your population in a certain way. And Kelly and Josh are doing that, like like little things like spreading the seeds in the beds, right? Like right in the ground, which is not something that you would really see anywhere. But you're having that environmental selection pressure on the seeds right from the beginning. So it's an interesting whole systems approach that's like a lot more intricate than I really understood it would be. It's pretty impressive.
Well, I'll tell you, I have been doing a similar thing, not in maintaining my property, but for the first time, really understanding that we have this acre. It's on a mountain. It's not a farm by any means, but I have a lot of room and I have a lot of areas and different gardens that have been planted with beautiful plants. And I have spent the last just months in there cleaning out, trimming down my cedar trees, clearing out the forest, like mucking about in the garden, trimming, just having a blast taking care of my property. And yeah, it's super meditative in the sense of, and sometimes it's really challenging because it's not like you're just physically able to do everything you want to do. There's limitations where you require like prosthetics, 10-foot poles and ladders and like, things that do up the ante on danger levels, especially when you're on a mountain. So definitely be careful out there when you're farting around. And I start getting it in my head, like I just need to get those trees trimmed. And the next thing you know, I'm like climbing this cedar tree and my wife's on the deck, like, come on, dude, get out of the tree. Like, don't do that.
Well, these guys are walking along, the peaks of greenhouses and the troughs of greenhouses as they're putting out this blackout system, like the flying Walendas or whatever.
How else?
It's yeah.
Flying window.
This property, you got to come and check it out. When you see this property, you see 19 years of like essentially love slavery, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen a ton of BC properties, and they're always they all kind of have a similar flavor, but it's like the property's so new out in the mountains, and there's already so much work to do. It's like there's a lot of landscaping and things that just kind of are undone. Like it just looks wild. It's like, half of a farm and weeds and grass, and there's always like a pile of rocks and a tree line somewhere, right? And it's not really done up. But this place there's flowers everywhere. There's like incredible greenhouse structures of all different types. And like Josh was saying, it's all handmade. Um, it's hand engineered. Like it's not, this is not like shanty town, like, greenhouses. Like they're well built, but they're built with materials off the land. It's really incredible. So you got to come out and check it out, Marcus. I think it'll blow your mind.
Oh, trust me, I want to.
Right, flowers everywhere. Kelly's and Josh are constantly collecting seeds of all the
Well,
plants and talk.
listen, they've sent me a giant bag of flowers that I had out yesterday. I opened it all up, and because I've spent the last like months clearing this mountainside in between where my driveway goes from the top to, and it does this big 180 and comes out. I have this big piece of land right there that's sort of steep. And it was blackberries and it was ivy and it was like maple trees and ferns and every other thing growing out of there. And I just went in and I was like, I'm gonna get rid of all this shit and I'm just gonna plant like wildflowers on the side of this entire hill. So that's kind of what I'm in the process of doing right now.
It makes a
Okay.
big, it's like you see all these, because, like you're saying, the whole province has been turned into like a big logging farm, really, is what it is. Right. And
Right.
they just cut down massive swaths. And even people are buying these properties, they come in and they log them and then they try to sell the property. So
Right.
often you're buying a property that you're going to develop or you're going to put a residence on or a place on, like a summer cabin or whatever. The land's already been shaped by these guys that are coming in and ripping all the stuff of value out.
Well, and I mean, I guess I realized, but didn't realize. But when I was on the island recently, my buddy who's got a bunch of properties there, we went onto one of his properties, and it was like I think a 5 acre farm, or maybe it was 20, and 5 acres was blueberry. That sounds right. I think it was a 20 acre farm, and 5 acres was blueberry. But he had cut like I want to say less than an acre and got $500,000 for that wood. And he needed to cut it. It was like it needed to be a farm. It needed to be able to have a place for chicken coops and all this other stuff. They couldn't put it in the forest. But I was just like, man, no wonder people are buying properties and just like clear cutting the property, selling the logs, and then bouncing. It's like, it's amazing how many thermometers there are out in the world that you can fire to show, look over here, there's a shitty human. It's like, ugh, a bummer.
Yeah.
I haven't cut a single tree on my property. I'm just trimming them, but I've never cut a tree. All my neighbors are constantly asking the people across the way, next door, hey, can you cut those trees so I can have a better view? And we've just let our view grow over the years, and now our view is mostly trees with little bits of ocean. But we know the ocean's there, so we're like, well, it's right there. Guess I could cut like 15 trees down on my property and then ask my neighbor to cut 20 down, and I'll have a better view. But that just seems like if that's your trip, then move somewhere else. Don't live in the forest. Jesus Christ. It's like, would you like me to drain the ocean out front so you can have a deeper view? You can see the bottom 700 feet down.
It's always been wild to me to have so much scrutiny as a farmer on what you're doing on your land, what kind of taxes, what fertilizers, whatever it is.
What kind of
all kinds of
seeds,
licenses, all
contracts.
kinds of shit, to be a farmer. And then to worry about how much water you're using, all this stuff. Yet with logging, if you have private property, it's basically just an open thing. So you can't touch it. If it's private property and someone's logging it, and they don't have to log, they only have to leave like 20 feet or something of trees between the road and the clear cut. So we have a clear cut near our house, and it happened.
Well, near our house, it's still
in between two communities.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever. But and anyway, the point is like we've lost electricity like 8 times since that clear cut happened because all the trees are gone, and then there's just a couple trees on the side of the road and they just fall over, and they don't have to care about riparian zones as much. So it's like a silent flex for deforestation to just buy and sell land. So it's like there's wood lots and BC timber sales lots, and then there's just tons of private lots everywhere, which people just log ruthlessly. And there's not the same laws in replanting it. And
if people feel like they're logging is really regulated, try being in any other industry in the entire world, because logging and the forestry industry, there just aren't any regulations. And when you call and you try to find out who's accountable, you talk to one guy that's accountable for, like, I don't even know, a 17-hour circle driving all of the land that one guy is responsible for making sure to look at and make sure that all these people are following the regulations. It's just it's an absolute hypocrisy on our oxygen and on our biodiversity here in British Columbia. So,
and it's different than like taking out a few trees to make a homestead, taking out a few trees like that. There's something reasonable in any practice, and it's not you can't log, and it's not the forest doesn't grow back, because it does. It's just super out of balance.
We've been really blessed that we moved both of the properties, the farms that we have they were cleared in the early 1900s by the original homesteaders that came here, and they made big, huge swaths and ran their cattle on it, which doesn't seem like that was a very good, thing either. But we have been blessed to not have to cut down, like YouTubers. We don't need to cut down any trees ever. We just clear and keep it so it's breathing.
And but on a side note, living that natural life in the way that we have has been really special. But it's been like hanging out and being with Ryan and talking about the depth of the work that he's done in his life. You know what I mean? It's kind of makes you realize, like, wow, like, doesn't matter how much you know about something, like there's this whole other spectrum of learning. So like we're super excited to continue this path of friendship, and sharing and learning, from Ryan on so many levels. It's not just breeding and molecular. There's a lot of life similarities that we're sharing, and it's been really special for us and elevating our experience, just being around people like Ryan or anyone on the show or even in the audience. So we really appreciate that.
And I wanted to say something to that just really briefly. Anybody who's watching, or even all of you who are on, I feel like I work with a lot of people, and I'm doing, a lot of meditation on, the ethos and on humanity right now, and realizing that there's an incredible sense of loneliness, even if people are surrounded by hundreds of people and busyness all day long. There's this incredible sense in the human experience right now of loneliness. And I really encourage people to go out and have conversations, because it seems like these connections of understanding help us not feel so alone, or not feel so confused as to what our soul path is, or what we're here and we're supposed to be doing, And once you're keyed into that sense of loneliness sort of lifts. And I feel like I'm just seeing a lot of it, and I'm seeing a lot of people take their own lives recently because this is what we're left with in these letters, or this is what, seems to be this atrocity that's going on in the human existence. And I just think that our communication and the way that we are relating has to change. It isn't just about the weather. It isn't just, because that's not going to serve us. We need to have deep, meaningful connections. We need to get back to creation with other community members, creation with other people who are smarter than you, and people that are doing more incredible things, so that you feel also like you want to evolve, like there's a reason to be here, like it is more exciting than just the regular drum of what you have going on in your own life. So I just wanted to pass on that message. And it's not just even a message of hope, it's a message of the continuum of life and of rebirth. And if we've been through sort of this composting of humanity, we're now at the seedling stage, and things are going to grow and things are going to blossom. So whatever way we can help that blossoming through community relationships is just going to make the flowers smell that much sweeter.
Well, I'll tell you how you did it for me. You sent me that giant bag of flower seeds. So you absolutely helped me get the blooming going. And I'm going to plant those things. I just got to get more ivy out and get it down. Maybe get some nice fresh earth laid down. And I'll get those bad boys planted. You got like pumpkin seeds and like bean seeds and other things in there too. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty
Also
good.
say giant pumpkin seeds this year, which we're uh just drying out right now. But you need a pickaxe, what like a Pulaski is what we call them or whatever, with the pick on one side and the hoe on the other. It's like the old miner thing, just
Yeah,
to dig into that ivy spot and pull the roots out.
I have it.
You do.
I do.
That's the good stuff. That's the core, like gnarly work when
It's
you're like
gnarly.
throwing a pick in the ground and yanking roots out. You're just like, oh yeah, that's
Oh
what's.
yeah. I've been yanking roots, man. Let me tell you, I've been yanking roots. Yesterday I spent 3 hours just like trimming back all my rhododendrons, and I went and looked at my apple tree, which I was given, I guess 2 years ago now, or maybe last year that I planted. And I went over to look at my apple tree and I said, these apples look so weird. And it's a pear tree. It's like it's got pears growing on it right now. So I was like, that's pretty cool.
Well, and taking all that stuff down is the magical fertility of a multiple succession canopy forest and environment. So any way you can turn that, and I know that you can't always, but any way that you can like recompost that, it's the future life. It's where all the future bacteria and fungi local get to re-thrive through that and then create the fertility as it's moving
Dude,
forward.
organic farming just said that's B-Man's reggae band, but I think it should be our reggae band. And the name is Yankin' Roots.
Good one. It's a good one.
Top yanking.
Top yanking.
Pulling them out. I love that you guys were just on the ferry and now you just drove off.
Yeah, we were right behind the Sikh motorcycle club. There was like 25 Sikh Harley.
That's what's up.
All
They don't have
up.
helmets, right? No helmets.
Oh yeah, it's hard to put a helmet on over the turf.
You can't do it.
Motorcycle versions.
They're one of the main reasons you can get a permit to not have a helmet.
I mean, I like that option. I like the option.
Well, you should probably be able to have the option that you want if you're an adult. Probably makes sense.
You have like a killer braid all around your head and then like a super like nice
Dude, and the swords? Did they have like the swords or the
I should have looked better. That would have been smart to do.
Because that would have been awesome.
messed up.
I've seen them on the highway before, here on the Sea to Sky Highway, ripping up. It's awesome.
I love that. We might lose you guys, so we just really love and appreciate you all.
Well, I'm going to do a giveaway in about 9 minutes for, I think for one of these bad boys. I got to say, I really like this spoon. It's a big ass spoon. And the press club is giving another one away. So shout out to those guys at the press club. There it is. Back in the day, I would just use any old spoon, but I'm telling you, if I opened your drawer and you had this spoon, I would have given you a high five for sure. I've used every spoon, every bad spoon, there's been some decent ones, there's been some good ones, but to have a nice sharp edge for scooping off the screen and a big, massive spoon, this is very cool. Even for a commercial producer, but definitely for the home user. The home user. So yeah, we'll give one of those away in about 8 minutes. So remember, all you have to do to enter is type. That's it. Just type into the chat and you'll be entered. I'll extend that to 10 minutes is good because we're going to do it in 10 minutes. Looks like there are Oh, I guess I have to push done. There we go. We just started. 8 entries. Should I just do it after 8 entries? Oh,
It's so
I,
fun to be part of this
I will
with all these little things. Like,
say also,
Josh.
um,
You're cutting out, laddie.
can you hear me?
Now I can. Absolutely.
Okay. I was gonna say, Ryan's an amazing guitar player,
Yeah, dude.
and
Listen,
so
I knew
so
Ryan when he
Mark.
had long curly hair and played guitar. So don't be telling me about Ryan's guitar playing.
Well, I mean, with Mike, with Mark and Ryan and Colin on the keyboards, and maybe me on the drums, we could. Maybe we don't know, but Best Friend Farms plays the bass. We're not sure yet. Like there could be a hash church top yanking band coming to a town near you. Is all I'm gonna
Then
say.
that means I have to sing.
You know what I'm saying, Marcus? Like you got the MC work on lock. So I'm sure you can put out some melodies. We're looking to you for that.
we need the bass.
All right.
Who's the bass player?
We'll find one really
Yeah.
soon here. Now that we're talking about it.
Putting the message out into the ether, the hash church ether. Bring us a bass player.
Yeah, Yankin' Roots needs a bass player.
Who's gonna hold the roots of the top yanking?
Who's to know? Who's to know? That's awesome.
All right, let's.
S- I got 6 minutes. There's 54 entries. I usually like to get at least close to 100 because there's almost 300 in the room right now. So I'd like to get a third of the group entered. Always do the halfway giveaway, little spoon action. It's a nice little box too. I like the picture of wet bubble hash. I don't think there's ever been a product that was sold that had a picture of exactly what bubble looks like when you pull it out of the bag. I did like that. I was like, that's a nice touch.
Like Camden Fragman might be the bass player. He says, "Oh, and Mojave. There you go. Mojave's in the chat. He plays, of course, he plays bass. He's an incredible
Why
guitarist.
is Mojave not in here telling us about his bass?
I'm not sure. He sent me some music the other day of his, and it's really, really good. Mojave's
Really?
a musician, actually. Yeah, I'd play bass
That's
with him. He's that guy
yeah,
for sure.
awesome. Well, you guys go. You guys fucking have a band. Well, listen, if I can't sing, I'll definitely be the manager.
You just stick to 20%.
Well, I think I'll be more reasonable than that. Probably take 10 because I know the band is going to be very successful. And mostly I'll just be there for filling bowls, delivering dabs, and probably recording content.
Sounds about right.
Yanking Roots and the Bass Spoons.
And Kelly and a couple other ladies can do the backup I3s singing.
There you go. You need that shit. That is
Yeah,
important. Very
right.
important.
Kelly could front the band.
The
Totally.
Yankin Fruit Sisters on the backups.
The backups, man. Yes, man. 10:56. You got 4 minutes. There's 70 entries. Sometimes I think it's 73. I should just choose a winner. But then I think, well, if we're bumping up enough, maybe we go to 90. From 90, what do you think the number is, Ryan?
The roughest, toughest bombaclat Batmans from straight out of Canada, yanking roots.
J5 Faux 20. Faux 20. Look at his Faux 20. PHO. Dude, the internet is too much.
That's a great name. People come up with the best names.
Organic farming is like, this is really snowballing fast. I think we have something here. All right, 76 entries. I think if we can get to 90, I'll click the button and we'll give this spoon away. Remember, what you got to do is, so please, and I will repeat my email again. You have to email me, and then I'm going to tell you something to type into chat, and that'll confirm with me that you are indeed the person in chat who won. So you have to email me after you win at bcbubbleman@icloud.com. I'll say it again before. Spoon in your room. Yes, exactly. Get a spoon. If you don't have a spoon, you're fucked. You need a spoon, man. Everyone needs a spoon. Best friend, you need a spoon, dude. I should have the press club just send you a spoon. I'm going to actually. They're going to send you one for sure, dude. Oh my God. You're going to get some beautiful, epic photo of like some piatella melting on it or some other scoop of heaven being pulled from the bags of
Let's do it.
wonderfulness. Yeah. I'll send you one myself if they don't, but they're pretty awesome.
That sounds sweet.
Yeah, they really are pretty awesome. Good folks over there, small family owned business and doing it up. It's good to support these smaller businesses, It's a tough time since COVID. Economic disaster has struck a multitude of times to a lot of people, and a lot of businesses have closed. A lot of
Yep.
restaurants. Holy smokes. We just had the Salmon House is closing this week. One of my favorite restaurants. It was been open for 49 years, I think. And they're closing. Well, pretty shitty. Anyway, we got 92 entries. I think I'm going to hit the winner. And oh, wait, I know. Before I do that, the whole purpose of doing this is to be transparent so everyone can see and they don't have to trust me for God's sakes. Wouldn't want that. All right, we're going to choose a winner with 94 entries for the spoon, the Press Club collection spoon. Let's do this. Bam. Emid Otter. Emidotteer. Emid Otter. You just won. So first I'm going to take a picture of that like I usually do. Plan, and then I'll close that. And then we'll see if Emid Otter, can you put my email in the chat again if you don't mind, Bingo? And then Emid Otter, who just won, would you mind sending me a quick email and then I'll tell you what to type in the chat? Oh, there it is. Yes, what? Exactly. You won the spoon, my friend. You won the spoon. Their reply was, what? It's like, what? It's like, who'd have thought 25 years ago when we made some of that first bubble, Ryan, that one day we'd be on a podcast giving away custom spoons to people to make hash?
When you were showing the spoon, I was just thinking that how far we've come. We've now got like specialty products like that, or those alcohol Q-tips that you gave me in Amsterdam, right? Like there's so many of these little things nowadays.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that people are just going and getting specialty products made to just push the ends, push the boundaries of this thing that we're doing, this cannabis thing that we're doing. That's pretty freaking cool.
Oh, I think it's great. I'm definitely a fan of it as well. I love the concept. I mean, recently I had this thing sent to me. It comes like this. It's a little lantern, and basically it's a Puffco attachment. And instead of Coleman, it says Bowlman. It's actually just in the other room. I'm gonna go get it because it's so awesome.
Well, we need to do a bong rip here. We need to get some. I've had this one sitting here for ages. Let's celebrate for the otter.
Well, boys, I am gonna dip. I
Shucks.
got some cousins coming over. We're gonna do some kayaking on the lake, do a little barbecuing, all in honor of my wife's 55th birthday. So have
Yeah.
a wonderful weekend, folks. Thanks, Marcus.
See you later, bro.
Thanks, Dr. Mark.
All right.
Happy
We'll talk
birthday,
to you guys
Kara.
later. Yep.
Happy Cannabis Week.
Bye
So yeah, there it
bye.
is. There's the little Bowlman that I got, and it's a double bubbler too. It bubbles out of the little flame on top. I'm like, dude, that is like a pretty choice little unit. So yeah, I actually got it from these guys at Hemper.
It's perfect for camping, isn't it?
Dude, and they sent me another one, a couple of them actually, and that were just bongs. And I gave them to my uncle when I was in Manitoba recently, and he fucking loves these things. He's torching. I gave him a bunch of bubble hash too. So he's just ripping like 5, 6 huge rips of bubble at a time through these like big bongs. I'm like, dude's like 70, dude. He's just like smashing like Dave style, actually. It was reminiscent of Dave when he was puffing because I was like, I got to admit, I'm not around that many older dudes that puff like that. Fuck, I'm not even around that many younger dudes that puff like that.
No, Dave was a machine.
He was a machine, dude.
Absolute
He
puppy.
was a machine. He was always looking for someone that could just at least keep up, even like 1 to his 5. If you could just do 1 to his 5, he's like, all right, that's acceptable. But if you weren't puffing at all, it's just like, oof, I don't know if we're going to be able to be friends.
Yeah, I was, it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but I was listening when coming through the backwoods here, mountains, there's no cell service. So I usually use YouTube to just stream music while I'm driving. And so I had nothing and I was limited to whatever the videos that accidentally got downloaded to my phone. And one of them was the memorial at Riggers, right? So I listened to all the talks again, everybody's memorial speech. And yeah, people were talking about it. I think it was Valerie Corral was talking about how on your first time when you actually met David, he'd kind of put you through the silent challenge where he'd hit you, serve you up dab after dab until, to see if you were gonna, as she put it, if you were gonna like fall asleep in the corner or if you were gonna be any fun. I think maybe that was Annie Regan said that. But it really was the way David was. Like he would just give you hit after hit after hit, you know. You're muted.
I just said insane. He did it to me, man. Like he put me, I can't even imagine that he does that to everyone, what he did to me, because he definitely like laid me out with like, I want to say realistically 30 to 40 rips out of the bong in his living room. And he must have taken way more, like 50 to 60 or something. And I just remember leaving there more high than I've ever been in my life to this day. And just being like, wow, that's what Rob was talking about when he said I left Dave's the other night so fucking high. And I'd be like, well, how
How high?
high could you how high could you be? Like I felt like I know what high is, but I was like, oof, no, I was to be educated on that evening. As I had to go back home and make my way to the Krasnopolsky Hotel from Dave's place, which isn't just a short walk.
Well, you walked.
Yeah,
That's like get at least an hour. I mean, it's half an hour.
it was a little under an hour, but I walk fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's half an hour roughly to the katsu from David's place.
Yeah, yeah,
Funny, I have all those times down now because I've been doing all those walks.
yeah, exactly. This was 20 years ago too, so I was younger and even more nimble than I am now.
You must have
So
been too late to take the tram
yeah,
to visit him.
yeah. I just know I was so high I didn't want to do anything other than walk on my feet. Once I relearned how to do that, because when I left his apartment, it wasn't really working properly.
Yeah.
Well, I really want Emid to send me an email immediately if you can, because until you do, I can't confirm who you are or your address or link you up with the Presco. So if you can send me an email, do it right away. And then I'll reply to you. I'll tell you what to type in the chat. And then once you do, I'll forward your email over to Jeffrey at the Press Club, and he'll get out your spoon. Pretty cool. Win a little spoon action. Hash rules everything around me. Classic Wu-Tang Clan, right? Little hash rules everything around me. I guess Prague was probably the first one there who did that. Emit odor is legit. Yes, Hawaii is sustainable. Emit is, but Emit is legit, but he needs to send me. Well, he was just in and he was listening, and so hopefully he's well, exactly. If he's been around along, he's in our chat all the time. He's old school. We'll get his email eventually. Then I won't be so. I usually am like OCD, and I don't want to stop finding this person until they give me until I can connect them because I hate the idea of someone winning something and then just not sending it to them. And then of course they're like, "Oh, I didn't even think about it till 6 months later when they hit me up and say, 'Hey, you never sent me my spoon.'" Oh, I did it on IG. Okay, well then that's fine. That's not what we spoke about, but that's okay. It's acceptable. There he is. You say. All right, here we go. If he can just post this real quick, I'll get his email and send it off to Sir Jeffrey. What are you puffing over there, Brian?
Whatever's in the dragonfly jar here. There's a couple of things. I've been hitting this one.
Oh
I've
shit, you got Brian's looks really nice.
Yeah, this is a new one of mine I call Smooth Criminal. And it's a citrus smoothie made by my gas mask
This is
mama.
quite nice. Sorry to
Is
cut
that a
you.
Michael Jackson song?
Yeah,
Smooth
back in the
Criminal.
day. Smooth Criminal.
Dude, the color on that is ridiculous.
It's insane. This is a first wash 90 that I went to rosin with instead of Piatella. It kind of darks up on the tannins through the Piatella. It's amazing and it smells. This one is like what we're calling like honey puke. So it's like sweet honey up front, hard to explain. Like honey berry catches you and draws you in really, really pleasant. And then it just goes to gack, like like puke on the end. A little bit raunchy, pukey. It's hard.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a lead in and then goes,
Congratulations.
oh wow, that's so deep and yucky in a good way. You know?
Durian. It's durian fruit.
A little more
That's
pleasant than that one. I like that stuff a lot actually, but
yeah, me too.
I had the
I'm not
freshest
against
one.
it.
Yeah, I had some flown in from Thailand the first time I went to Amsterdam, and it was like a total different game for
Oh,
durian.
nice.
Yeah, than what you get over here.
Well, shout out to Emid Otter. He just said what I asked him to say, which was thank you to the press club. I know who he is. I'm connected to him. I'll link him up with the press club so he can get his prize. I need a spoon. Well, Game Organics, you can go to thepressclub.co and buy one of those spoons. If you need one, they got you covered. In the meantime, thank you, Press Club, for doing these giveaways and sort of kicking down to our audience. I think they really appreciate it. It's nice vibes. Thanks to Puffco as well. We gave a Puffco away. Thanks to Camden, who actually donated that Puffco. It's nice to do giveaways, and Thomas was always amazing with that. I think we gave away some lights here before. We definitely did a lot of them on his channel. I'll see if he wants to do a little giveaway again in the near future. I have a friend who's growing right now. The two Borgs that I had, I don't know if I have photos of this, but this is kind of crazy. Apparently, there's some really good videos as well. I haven't seen them, but I went to my friend's grow the other day. And yeah, this was it here. I guess this is probably the closest photo we'll get. And this was about a week or two ago now. But the Borgs, if you look like into the photo, the Borgs, like the plants are literally twice the height. Like these are just two different, like you can see the lights right here. These Borgs are insane. And then the other plants all the way down the room are literally at half the height and lushfulness. So apparently Thomas has taken me to some grow here in the near future where this guy's pulling almost 5 pounds per one of these fucking LED lights with under canopy. With under canopy. That under canopy can be substantial if you know what you're doing. I mean, obviously it makes sense. We know that the intensity of the light is up top and the canopy doesn't always get pierced, and you see a lot of growers just trim things super high up. It is amazing to see big, lush buds lower down in the canopy. I think I have some pictures that Thomas sent me of that as well. The buds were like, they were substantial. They were definitely like much more substantial than I have ever seen that low on the canopy. But I'll see if I have those pictures. It's hard to memorize. Oh, you want to present, Ryan?
Well, maybe share something. I don't know, it's a presentation.
Well, that's sharing.
It's just a paper. I just posted it in the chat. Someone sent it to me. Um, do I have permission now? Yeah, I can. There we
Yeah, I gave you permission. Sorry. Just looking for this photo, but I don't think I'm going to find it. I've also potentially forgotten what photo I was looking for now that I'm looking through all my photos. That's awesome. On point.
Yeah, it's not even hold on.
Is this a paper you wrote you're going to share? Well, I guess in the meantime, I could share pictures of, I really like this picture of hash that I pressed a few weeks ago on Vancouver Island. It just looks so nice. Wrapped it up all nice. And yeah, it was just like, look at that.
Oh, it's perfect.
Dude.
Nice round edges too. Those came out perfect.
Yeah, dude, it was hard. Like it was.
What do you have there? What kind? What?
That's Gorilla Glue, 100 grams.
Love it.
Yeah, see, it was like this. I was just molding it with my hand to get it into the plate. It was the easiest job ever. And that's kind of what it looked like when I initially got it. I had to like snap it off of this like piece that was like this right here. They had just sealed it in a bag as powder, and it's self-pressed
Oh, wow.
into basically a puck of hash.
That's cool.
But yeah, good fun. I love hash. I love playing with it and pressing it and making pieces. And then oh yeah, this one was really greasy. It's nice to see nice hash, you know?
Ooh,
I was impressed with the greasiness on this one.
that looks nice.
Just like wet. You
On your
know?
screen,
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
seen this paper or not?
I missed that, Ryan.
I don't know if you're seeing this paper or not.
Oh, here. No, I'm sharing right now. Let me stop sharing. Now I can see it. There you go. Long days during the last 2 weeks before harvest applied to short day medicinal cannabis. There we go.
Yeah, so these guys did a study in Holland, apparently. I haven't actually really through the study too deeply, but they're applying, high, longer veg periods essentially at the end of flower and bumping up yield. I don't know
Okay.
yield, I don't know, but I would imagine it's somewhat cultivar dependent. But that's an interesting thing for growers. I mean, shit, if you can give plants, you know, back to a longer period than 12 hours at the end of flowering, then maybe you can bump your yield. So it's worth checking out, or at least reading the paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe it's a paper Dr. Allen and I will discuss. Maybe you want to come on Cannabis Journal Club with us and discuss some of these papers.
Yeah, well, I mean, you need to have a whole botany section, right? I mean, there's so many papers coming out these days. You could literally do a paper at least one every, or you'd have to do more than one a week to be current. And there's also like catching up to all the old stuff, right? So it's just, yeah, there's a ton.
Well, let's do that. I know Dr. Allen, we've kind of tried to find papers in regards to, the body, medical papers, but we're just having a harder time. Like Sam would have been our source, right? He could have just given us like 1,000 papers, but we need a source to get papers passed on.
I have David's bibliography.
I know.
So, and I keep on top of the new stuff anyway, right? Like that one just came out. So, there's so many studies being published in cannabis lately. Like it's fucking ridiculous. Like what has been published in the last 30 years is just an insane body of work. Like I don't know if there's any other plants that are as studied, at least in that period, as cannabis. And we're still figuring stuff out. So it's
For sure.
interesting time to be interested in the science of cannabis. It's also grown so much that like all these areas you can focus in. right? Like there's like a genomics professor now in Canada, like that the program is cannabis genomics.
Mm.
It's pretty.
I think there's going to be one for cannabis aromas very quickly. Did you see the show last week?
No, I haven't had a chance. I've been over.
Oh, dude, I wish you could have been there, man. It was a good one.
Yeah, I was somewhere over in Northern Ontario.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Because
Yeah,
I was in Lac de Bonnie. I did it from my friend Nathan's house. Thank you, Nathan, by the way. Shout out to letting me use your house. While my son was in a fishing tournament, I did hash church.
cool. That's cool that your son's doing the fishing tourneys.
Oh, it was awesome, man. It was so cool. I
Man,
was they had a good time. Let's see if I can find like a shot of them out on the boat. My uncle's boat is hilarious. He's got it wrapped like he had his 70s van wrapped.
What kind of fish? Bass tournament or trout or?
It was walleye. It's a
Oh,
walleye
cool.
tournament. Yeah, we're fishing for walleye. And it was like the four biggest ones. The prize was serious. Like it was a professional tournament. My uncle, he likes to bring young anglers in and kind of expose new people to fishing, whereas the majority of the people that entered are like both professionals. There's only two people allowed per boat, and they're professionals. And there's like $6,500 on the line for this tournament that these guys ended up winning. But geez, I knew I had pictures of that boat. And oh, there it is. There it is. So here we go. This is a shot of my uncle and my son on his boat. And you can see it says the Geocraft, she's a keeper. And then over to the right, it says 28 and over, trophy walleye, 17 and under, jailbait. And so this is my uncle's 1970s humor
That's good.
of being out on his boat.
That
So,
art's clean. That's a crispy piece on there, though. Super
oh, it's
nice.
super crispy. It's super
Yeah.
crispy. You kind of can't. I didn't put the best picture up. Oh, this one's a little better because it has the actual picture of. I want to go. It's weird. Oh, I see. I cut it off in that one too. Well, welcome Etienne Fontaine with the giant Dubois in his moi.
Hola.
Hola.
Hope everybody's doing good.
We're
Yeah.
doing pretty good, man. We're doing
I got a
pretty good.
got a pretty cool gift this week
Oh, awesome. Someone just sent me, it's a different patch, I think. Or maybe that is the one. Is that from
Jason.
from Jason.
Jason? Oh, I don't know. I don't know that one then. There's
Yeah,
another
this is
guy
pretty.
who just made patches. That's beautiful, dude. Show that again. Oh, I love that, dude. That's beautiful. I love that shit like that exists in the world. How fucking cool is that? Sam forever leaving his mark. He won't stop. He's just going to keep going. We're going to be like, oh my God, remember when we thought when Sam died, he was gone? Holy shit. Tricks on us.
Oh no, he's not gone.
He's
Oh, my
definitely not gone, dude.
Ash is really
He
gone.
blew your suitcase off the roof of your car the other day, dude.
Yeah, I wonder if it was him. It's funny because my patch is in that bag,
Your
along,
patch?
along with some other things that were
Can
kitty
I
and
say something about your bags? And this is very inexpensive. Put air tags in them. It
yeah.
really does get you your bag or your thing back. I have my air tags on everything. I just air tagged my Neo Spectra, this little unit that I've been having a blast with. I'm not gonna lie, when you showed your hash, Brian, I wanted to just jam it into the Neo Spectra, and I knew right away what it says when it's great hash is it says outlier warning. Does it outlier warning? I'm like, oh, ooh, we got an outlier warning. I love me some outlier warnings.
That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff, dude. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, is that bad? And Ruben looks over at me. He's like, no. It's very, very good.
The outlier.
Catalonian accent, dude. Fucking awesome.
Great.
Can't wait till you get back here, Ryan, and we'll play with this thing. It is a blast. I want you to see the macro micronutrient tests and how quick it can be done.
I already know I need one. If it's
Yeah.
just if it's as good as it is for the cannabinoids, which I've spoken to a bunch of people that have
It's very
used
accurate.
them and confirmed them. For the cannabinoids, at least, it's very accurate.
Well, Dom,
And it's
you know Dom.
yeah.
Yeah, so that guy alone is like, dude, he was like saying it was better than his lab at his EU GMP lab.
Yeah, well, so the lab that he uses is the one that does all of the Dutch grows.
Okay.
Central lab, which is kind of an interesting way to do it. I guess there's only so few grows that they can do it that way, but
Right.
it does centralize and standardize the data, which is a cool thing about having it done that way for a system.
Totally.
And yeah, he's like they're growing a bunch of different genotypes and testing it across a bunch of different things.
Ryan, are
That was
familiar
weird, right?
with the lighting thing? Back to it a little bit. Something I do here now for closer to like 15 years, over 10. I caught on out west to less hours for the vegetative for indoor, and I don't know if you guys have talked about that here before, probably, but I caught on with K-Mud Radio out of Garberville when I was out there, and basically some experienced growers, old school growers were on there and talking about how to swing your light schedule down on the vegetative from the typical 18 to the 16. So it just kind of made sense. It seemed a little risky, but back then myself, I was running on generator, with some solar assistance. So it was like whatever you could shave down just to try it out to pay for less resource to fuel it, the run. So I tried it and it stuck with me where I just saw healthier plants, still to this day. Any strains I run, any of my breeding, any of the seeds, clones, anything. So just was throwing that out for like a little light thing there. Change.
Yeah, there's something called DLI. I don't know if you
Something's wrong with your mic, Ryan. You're coming through muffled. I don't know why.
Is that any better or no?
Yeah,
It is a little bit better. Yeah.
a little better.
DLI, daily light integral, right? It's like essentially how many photons a plant takes on over the day.
Right.
So, and I think it's probably cultivar dependent, like it varies within different populations, but I think that there's like an ideal amount of light that you can give them, right?
Yeah, they can only take so much. It just seems to stress them out, is what I saw.
Absolutely. And if you see plants that have like nutrient deficiencies, if you dial the light back, you don't show it
right away. Yeah. It made sense. I mean, it's like if you're matching solstice, at least around here where into Maine, this zone, even to California, you're kind of looking at right around that 16 hours of peak light around here anyway. So kind of matching what we see for the max speed of light in nature a little bit, at the peak of the year for solstice. So,
yeah.
In this mid band of where we live here.
When I was running tarps in BC a few years ago, I would I was always leave the tarps off the last 2 weeks anyway, just because I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I hate to interrupt, but yeah, your mic is doing it again. I can bear. It feels like it sounds like you're underwater. Someone said.
Yeah, go to your Zoom settings and see if your sensitivity is low.
He was coming through perfect like 5 minutes ago.
I think it's the internet. Josh and Kelly said maybe to go to Ryan's house, so
Okay.
maybe I'll log out and try from over there.
Yeah, there
Mine's
you go.
here too. Yeah. Country internet.
Country road. Got to get on
by
that.
the way, happy Canada Day, or do you celebrate it as Canada Week there, or how do you folks celebrate it up there?
Well, I guess we celebrate it by kind of getting together. It's a weird kind of day where it's like the one day Canadians are patriotic. You see a lot of flags and like Canadian shirts and stuff. And for the most part, it's just a good vibe. And locally here, we usually have a little event and maybe there's a little beer garden and there's kids swimming in the ocean. Unfortunately, this year, the geese have been shitting on our beach like crazy, and the water comes up and grabs it. So that right in front of the beach, the E. coli number went too high for safety for swimming. So our national bird, the Canada goose, made it so we couldn't swim on Canada Day. Uh, just in front of Lions Bay. We ended up actually going over. There's another beach in Lions Bay called the Kelvin Grove Dog Beach. That's where you kind of have to go if you have a dog, because this other beach, not allowed dogs. And so it's kind of cool in our little village that we have these two little beaches, and a marina as well. So it's works out pretty good. Welcome back, Colin.
What's up, guys?
Colin in Colorado.
Looks hot there.
I'm back. I'm down in Denver now. I was up at the Great Divide, and yeah, it's like 100 degrees here. It's brutal.
Jesus.
Yeah, but beautiful. Rocky Mountain National Forest, man. Amazing. Beautiful place. So
Oh, yeah, man.
super grateful. I saw a rainbow yesterday. It was pretty epic.
Is that where the double rainbow guys saw the double rainbow?
Possibly, because there was some crazy rainstorms yesterday specifically that came through, and it was intermittent, so you could see it like over these like miles and miles away. This like huge rainbow just kind of cranked over the mountaintop. It was awesome.
Do you remember the double rainbow guy?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
It's beautiful. He's just bearing his soul. It's like he just came off some super intense psychedelic experience, and his soul was super open and vulnerable. And he ends up seeing this double rainbow. Oh my God.
That's sick. Yeah. No,
Oh, it's so good.
I visited some pretty neat little dispensaries on the way. There's some good local herb. It's cool, man. It's good to
Dude,
see.
Bubble Man brand is in the Colorado market now.
Oh, no way. That's sick. I should try to
Yeah,
go scoop some.
they hit me up the other day and they said, "We're in stores, man. We're in stores." I was like, "Fucking A, man. That's what's up."
Great.
It's a
Yeah,
lot of work, man. Holy shit.
it's needed though out here. There's not a lot of brands that are left. I mean, I walked in, it was like this like O2 and the Clear and stuff that just whatever lasted. It's just only a few brands now. So good that you guys are able to be on the shelf because it's needed. I keep asking like who's the best, who's got the best living soil, who's got the best, hash, etc. And they just keep telling me like we need better hash, we need better flour. So
Damn.
seems like you guys are set up to do well. That's awesome.
Well, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. I mean, we're gonna make nice product, that's for sure. The partners know what they're doing, and so far it's like hash hits and brick hash and maybe some rosin and some bubble.
Sick. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the 710 gave me a care package when I got here, and they always just have phenomenal flour. Their flour is just always great. So big
Don't
shout
they
out
do great extracts too?
Oh yeah, they 100%. They just
Yeah.
they just check the box. I think Brad and Skelly and their whole team do a great job. So big shout out to them as well. But yeah, dude, I can't wait I'm gonna go try to find your stuff. I'm gonna do it today.
Yeah, I'll text my partners and find out where you would have to go.
For sure.
Because we're fresh out. We're certainly not in every store yet.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's cool. It's beautiful here. I mean, getting up to the mountains, man, is you live at the mountains, so it's like you're every day.
I'm here. I live on a mountain, in fact. I'm going to put my
Yeah.
boat in the water later and see how that goes.
It's a great day for it out here, at least. I mean, I was on the water yesterday. I was on some lakes yesterday, and it was cool. It's beautiful. So what's good, guys? What's going on with you, Brian? How's the full term season looking for you, bro?
Just as he steps away from his camera.
Oh shit, I didn't see it. I'm on my phone.
No,
When he
and I
comes
have it
back,
set as speaker. Yeah.
we'll when he comes back, we'll talk to him. But
Etienne's just coughing up a lung. Smoked that whole joint in like 3 puffs.
yes.
Whoa.
You know, I don't typically smoke flower, but I smoked some flower this week. It was quite good. I'm surprised. Ooh,
Oh,
look at
that's
that.
cute.
What is that?
What is that?
That's
Is that
that's
a
my
Coleman.
it's my Bowman.
is that a Coleman? That's a Coleman.
It fits on his. Oh, I need one of those in my life. That is
Dude, I needed that
hilarious.
camping. Jeez, that was dope. That is amazing. Who makes that?
Where do I find that?
Yeah.
You can find that with Hemper. So yeah, Hemper is who sent me this. Shout out to those guys. And I believe on Instagram, I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm going to go and just do the quick search. But I'm pretty sure it's just Hemper. Oh, maybe it's Hemper Co. Yeah, I think it's Hemper Co. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is them. Let's see. Yeah, this is definitely them. So they are on Instagram, Hemper Co. HEMPERCO. Hemper Co. We got 695,000 followers. Holy shit. Good for them. Yeah, they sent me this one. They sent me a couple of smaller ones that were bongs. Well, one that's big and one that's small. I gave them both to my uncle who lives in the cabin and smokes hash like a fiend. And he was just absolutely loving them. In fact, I owe it to Hemper because they were kind enough to send these out to me. I owe it to them to try and find the pictures that I took while I was there. Probably going to have to go into deleted photos because I took a couple of nice photos of those Hemper bongs at my uncle's cabin, kind of like balancing on his. Oh yeah, here we go. We're going in the right direction. We're going in the right direction. So, okay, here we go. Yeah, here's the two of them. Oh no, that's not the two of them. That's his with mine. So I'll recover that. I thought I also took pictures of just the two of them, but really cool pipes. And he absolutely loved the bong aspect. He did find that the lighter, this is how what a fiend my uncle is. He found that the lighter, he was like, I don't know, it doesn't get the hash burning because I gave him nice melty hash that that I get with melty hash, you got to be a bit patient. He was expecting to just torch it and have it all turn into smoke, and when that didn't happen, he was kind of like, "Oh, what's going on with this thing? Is it broken?" And anyway, he oh, here's no, that's the other one. So he was using a blowtorch to blaze this fucking Coleman, which made it even funnier because it was a Coleman bong that he was lighting with a propane torch. But yeah, I got so many pictures. I don't know where those came in to be. Probably after these ones on the island. Yeah, here we go. So these are the two bongs that Hemper Co. gave me as well, which were really nice. Like I have to say, I was actually impressed with the caliber of these pipes. They just cool little recycler style. And I mean, who doesn't need a Coleman? And everyone always says the same thing. They're like, "Oh, is that a Coleman?" And then you hold it closer and they go, "Bowman." It's like, yeah, it's like a little punchline that you get when you read it. So shout out to these guys for doing something cool. You know, I'm sometimes harsh on these bong companies that are mass producing, what might be construed as Chinese produced bongs, but I will say that this top is unique and cool. And I thought, you know what? I will take that and give them to my uncle and make his day. I get a lot of these companies offering me products all the time, and I say no to 99% of them. But the Lantern Peak attachment caught my attention. I was like, and I see it also caught your guys' attention. So get in touch with the Hemper boys, tell them Bubble Man sent you, and get yourself a Coleman Bowman attachment for your Puffco. Yeah, that's what's up. That is what's up. Man, I asked some really cool questions to Grok today on thiols and thiolates and just all the different properties of old, like it spit out pages and pages and pages of incredible caliber data We are so lucky. Our kids are so lucky. And I get it that it's a double-edged sword and they're also not lucky, but they're so lucky to have information be able to pass through their little fingers at the speed that it's going to be passing through. It's absolutely insane. Like really quite something. And who knows, maybe some kids will go the cyborg route and get the Neuralink put in their brain. I used to be terrified of that thing and think it was like the craziest, evilest thing you could do. But now it's got all these quadriplegic people moving mouses with their minds, and it's changed their lives. Now I think he's getting deaf people to hear that haven't heard, or maybe blind people to see. Like it's a crazy thing that you can rewire the brain with this thing. So maybe not everyone will want to go the robot cyborg pathway, but I certainly think people who are not healthy and have all their faculties available to them will certainly look at it as a blessing to be able to gain some form of access to the world when you've been shut off from it from all of your, like ALS style, where your body just shuts down and you don't have the ability to operate your hands. Like, yes, there are some devices that can work with your eyes, but that would get sore. You'd get headaches. Like to be able to do it from your mind is it's pretty bonkers. I didn't see that one coming when I was like 13 years old, living in the 80s.
Yeah, now living in 2025, almost 26, we're at the cusp of, these tools that have, AI has been around for over 25 years, but it's now the right tools to be able to access them have been created, right? And I think the same thing for creativity. You know, I live one hand in the creative world, one hand in the cannabis world, and I hear sometimes a lot from the creative friends that I have that they're not scared of AI. In fact, they're just yearning for better tools so they can
Oh
use
yeah,
it,
exactly.
right? They're not saying, "Oh my God, don't bring this thing." They're saying, "Well, cool. Let's figure out how to actually make intentional tools to actually use it." Now we've done that with ChatGPT where we can give prompts, and that's a really neat way to get a result. But in terms of creativity, it's very still really hard. Like Adobe just unveiled their version of it, and it's going to keep kind of developing. And just roles are changing. They're not going away. They're evolving. You know, and I think that's the thing that I've kind of looked at it. It's a beautiful tool if used in the right context. It really is. So.
Well, you're not wrong. It's been around for a very long time, since the 40s. In fact, I think Turing did his thing in the 50s.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like when I had an opportunity when we had that opportunity with Pax Labs, it was like immediate, like, yes, let's try it. Let's see what we can do with this thing, good, bad, or ugly, and let's see what happens. And it was neat, 3 years later, we talked about it on the show, and probably 3 years from now, we'll have another iteration that's even better and has more data and more better understanding of it, and just keeps evolving in all the ways, like you just said, Marcus. It's an incredible tool to be able to just put these things in and then get answers back that, who else are you gonna ask, you
That's
know
it. And just like any tool, some people will be better with it than others. And that's why your
Sure.
friends aren't worried, because they're like, we already know how to train and practice and learn the use of these tools. And we're open-minded enough
Totally.
and creative enough that when the new thing comes, because I constantly get into this sort of thing with Johnny B, who's spending a lot of time studying AI. He takes
Sure.
courses, he's studying, he's getting these certifications. And I'm kind of like, dude, like, I don't think anything you're learning today will exist tomorrow.
It's fair.
I think
I
I
mean,
think
it's
AI is
totally
in this
fair.
it's in this pocket right now, where in the next 3 to 5 years, where it's like, if you spent the next 2 years training for AI, do you think any of it would be relevant 3 years from now?
No, I think it wouldn't have this same relevancy, but I think you would have at least the knowledge of like what the tool can do and
I
how the
mean,
tool can
maybe
be
it's
used.
so multi-dimensional that it could just be like, fuck, it's like disappearing from here and reappearing from here. How is training here going to help you for where it's going? Because it's not taking this short, direct pathway. It's doing this AI thing where it just disappears and then shows up over here. It's taking such strange routes, is what I'm really trying to say, that it's like,
Yeah, I think that's
today it's
accurate.
prompts. Today it's prompts.
Yeah.
But what if someone just writes another AI that's like, no, no, you don't have to do prompts. All you have to do is get this thing to sit in your pocket and it'll listen to you for like half the day or a week or a month. And then anytime you ask it a super simple question, all of that will be worked into the algorithm. And now the prompts themselves are basically available to you. All the prompts, like it's just the thought of it is mind numbing.
Yeah, well, one thing that comes to mind is Mid-Journey. Like Mid-Journey is if those that don't know should definitely check out Mid-Journey. It's probably from a visual standpoint the most advanced that you're going to get. And now they just unveiled a motion version, like where there's narrative, where you could make scenes and animations and things that are in motion. I think it's a great example of that, of how that tool changes over time. Is really unpredictable. And how are you going to use that? Who knows, man? You know. So I think that's just the thing that I agree with you. It's like, but I also would say in the same breath, like you should know at least figure out how to use the tool and the tool a little bit, and from there, if it changes, at least you have some sort of understanding of it. You know,
Yeah,
that's the
for
only thing I
sure.
would say. But yeah, no, I understand what you mean. Like I think
I just think the big
it gets so
breakthroughs won't
deep.
follow a path. The big breakthroughs will be like, wow, they'll just appear in a
Yeah.
way that no one could have possibly. Well, and I've already seen it, and I play around with it. I enjoy it. I talk to Grok and ChatGPT all the time. I create logos and thumbnails, and I did a nice one for the aromatic volatile compound show. I did that little thumbnail with the stained glass window and all the beakers of terpenes and
Hmm.
whatnot. But yeah, who knows where it's going? I find it interesting. It's definitely a tool. It doesn't help me in the garden, that's for sure. But maybe
Not
one day
yet.
it will. Maybe one day it will. Exactly. Got my
I mean, there's
robot.
a Bud Scout. I was pulled into a project with this guy, Scott Wilson, who's a really great designer out of Chicago. He was designing this thing for a company that was on a track system that had camera technology that scanned the canopy as it went across every 35 seconds. And the idea of it, just the idea, was that it would learn the plant's growth schedule, what you were feeding it, when you were feeding it, if you're target feeding, if you're doing that kind of thing. And it would also be able to detect bugs and things that are happening on a very minute scale, and then report them back to you in forms of data. So it's a really interesting thing that I was like super into when I got pulled into it. But I don't know how many people have adapted this into their practice. But it seems as things grow and as scale grows, getting eyes, I think about getting eyes on things. We talk a lot about personality of like going in and touching and feeling the plant. This is more of an extension of that in a way, which I thought was pretty cool. So it,
For sure.
yeah, but that's the only one that I know of. Maybe there's others out there, but Bud Scout, it's pretty interesting.
Are you just raw dogging this chat right now, Colin, with no
Totally, we got
AirPods?
kids
Just
ripping in
like
behind me. I'm just like I'm trying
Just
to keep
gonna,
them out.
yeah,
awesome,
I'm
dude.
trying, man.
That's so good.
They're trying to have fun back here, but I'm
No, I
just,
noticed you had no AirPods on. I was like, oh, damn, is he just listening to the audio coming from his phone right now?
I am. I'm sorry, guys, if it's too
Don't be
loud. You got
sorry.
background
No,
noise.
it's actually it's not loud at all. You sound as perfect as anyone else in the room.
looks nice there.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
looks
no,
nice.
I just I'm walking in the backyard here in Denver, and
Cool.
the two kids came out. I was like, well, I'll go over in the corner where I can get away from them.
That's
So,
hilarious. What's going on, Dad?
yeah. What are you doing over there? What
Standing
are you
under the
doing,
tree,
Uncle? We got
talking
got
hash.
the extended family. Yeah, we're talking hash kids.
So, Colin, how do you, you're a person who runs incognito in the world, and that you're as deep in, the cannabis world as anybody. So, when somebody comes up to you and asks you, so what do you do for a living? When you're dealing with kids' parents and things like that, the vanilla people, right? How do you handle that?
How do I handle
Besides,
that? So there's two ways that I handle it. I usually say that I'm in agriculture, like immediately. Like that's the first thing I say because that's the most honest thing, right? Like that's really what we do. Like we're literally in agriculture, and I have a company that's in agriculture, and then if they want to ask more questions, we start to get into what type of agriculture. And then if you really want to know, then we get into the details of that agriculture. And we just keep talking, and I just kind of present it like what we do is um, we work really hard in agriculture and bringing the best expressions of these plants to life, and then we package them and bring them to retail, and that's kind of our life essentially. And
So you kind of tell them we grow the best weed that gets you the most high
yeah,
Without saying it that way.
without saying
I
it that way.
yeah, just tell them, we we are agriculture at the core, and we love to dress it up and pretend that it's all this other stuff. And we put labels and stickers on stuff to try to sell it, but at the end of the day, I think we just grow plants, and we harvest them, and I think there's no difference between an apple, in my opinion. Shh. Hold on a second, we got kids coming over here.
All right, we
She's
get
like, "Did
that.
you say apple? I want an apple." That's
I love
awesome.
apples.
That is so cool. Her high little voice.
You as well, Marcus. I mean, you're a parent, right? And you have to
Oh,
navigate
just
those
take care of it just like that.
those waters of vanilla, right? So, because it could be very intimidating saying, "Oh, I'm in cannabis. I do this for a living." You know what I'm saying? Because,
My wife didn't used to want me to really do that. She was more like, just keep it on the down low. Now, as it's so legal in Canada, and it's legal, like not just medical, it went beyond that. It's recreationally legal here federally. So it's really like it's kind of like although it's not very different in that sense, it's very different when you're unplugging prohibition and you're unplugging like that whole mentality. Well, it's illegal. That just gets like completely unplugged, and it's like, well, it's legal. It's like, oh yeah, that's legal. So now all of a sudden people who might have had a problem with it, not that my wife had a problem with it, but people that might have, are now at the airport having a cigarette right next to someone smoking a joint and having a conversation with them, because they don't look down on them anymore because they're not breaking a law. It really was that for a ton of people. So the fact that we don't have to worry about that, I don't blast it out into the world. I keep it on the down low. I puff with a few of my son's friends' parents. It's not always the conversation, but when it's business conversation in regards to what I do, I certainly don't hold back in any way, shape, or form. And I'll talk about Hash Church, and I'll talk about, the brand, and I'll talk about consulting and the hash making and the bags. And for me, it's kind of hard not for me to talk about like, all of these things, because they're the basis of my foundation of being in it, like my activism in hemp and getting hemp growing and being a part of that history in Canada, doing the BC Compassion Club and getting to play a part in that
Yeah.
history was also very humbling and an honor. And then
Yeah.
being able to get arrested and be the first Compassion Club court case in Canada, get off, get my money be given back, get no fine, no time, and start bubble bags because of it was just like, fuck, it felt like fate. Felt like this is like your fate. You have to travel down this pathway because this is what you're doing. And what a wonderful, beautiful honor that I got to teach, inadvertently and advertently, so many amazing people around the world about how to like use water and ice. Really, it's not rocket science. It's very quite simple. Yet, for me, the way I taught people and the way I naturally did it was with a flare of passion because I was obsessed with it. So that brings me into like, like a chef would say, I recognize that. I have that in the kitchen. What you got going on there, I have that over here. So I've had that conversation with 100 chefs over my time as a hash maker. And just my articulateness and my like very anal and very just like, oh, I just want to, the way I presented it, the way I helped popularize, and it certainly has grown well beyond anything I've done. But back then, I was a major exploding force of this process, and lighting the way I looked at it was I was like a little flame, And what I wanted to do was I wanted to start a big fire. But it's like the majority of people are like trees. You know, you can't just light a tree on fire or a
Yeah.
log for that matter. But like then there's like the bubble ambassadors, which they were the kindling, right? These people that were like smaller pieces of fresh dried wood that were just ready to ignite with like a sentence of like, oh, if it don't bubble, it ain't worth the trouble. It's like, you got me. I'm in for life. I'm a lifer. It's like people really did that shit, dude. Like people got into this shit 25 years ago and literally
I'm
shifted
one of
their
them, dude.
path.
I'm
Yeah.
one of them.
And
I
just
mean,
went
dude,
down that shit forever.
fucking moment I pulled the first bag, I was like, holy shit,
I know the eyebrow
dude.
raise. I called it the eyebrow
It
raise.
was like, yo, I'm never doing anything else but this. You kidding me?
Dude, I know, I couldn't believe it. I used to be amazed when people were like, "Oh, that's a lot of work." I was
I
like, I didn't see the work. I see the work
I guess
now.
you guys could sit around. I'll just make this over here,
I
whatever.
see the work now, but I didn't back then when my passion was so fucking fueled and
Yeah.
burning, just like a oil fire. I couldn't see the labor. I was just so stoked. I make bubble for 14 hours a day and just be stoked about it. I go and my buddy's got all this weight, and I'm just like, I'll just say, I'll just stay here for the next 10 days and work for 10 to 14 hours a day making water hash. And that was without freeze dryers and coolers and chillers and all the other things that make life easier. But yeah, I just loved it. I still do. I still quite do, but it's different now and it's amazing. There's so many different ways. I just sold my Sambo filtration unit. I had one that Charles put at my facility, a V1, in order for me to demo it and sell it. And so I've been demoing it for quite a few different people recently, especially. And recently, just super recently, a group bought it. And, I told them, hey, I've got a buddy who can come up and do consulting for you. I can help a little bit. I didn't run it enough that I would feel comfortable charging you consulting, but I was like, if you had water hash and you were setting that up, I would be your man. And he's like, oh, well, funny enough, we just bought all this Whistler Technologies equipment, and he had like Lab Concos and Whistler 300 and like the RO unit he had everything and was like, I have no idea how to set this up. So I ended up not only selling the sifter, getting my friend a consulting job, but also getting myself another little consulting job for the water extraction. So it does seem like things are picking up a little bit out there in the world of equipment. I see people pulling the trigger more so on equipment. And I would say if you are looking at equipment for water hash, reach out to me. I definitely have a good knowledge base on lab out build outs for solventless extraction and accessing of equipment from a variety of companies, whether it's rosin presses or freeze dryers or ice machines or RO units. There's a lot to put together. And if you do any of those one things incorrectly, it does cost you more than it needs to. So my interest is always to save people money. At least that's always the inclination when you go in with a proper consultant should save you 5 to 10 times what you paid them, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's accurate. Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's again, like if you don't set it up right the first time, it takes more time to set it up right the second time.
Oh my God, dude, I hate
Yeah.
it. It's like, here's the worst thing everyone does. They don't put a drain in. Their drain is like this. It's like you can have a 2 inch drain, but have an 8 foot trough that leads into the 2 inch drain that holds 8 gallons of water or whatever it is, if it's 6 to 8
Yeah.
inches deep. And so, yeah, you're right. It does take a lot more time. It's much easier to do right the first time you do it. That is for sure. And I've built enough of them at this point in time to know that, well, when people ask me, Colin, well, how much are you going to cost? I always say, how much do you want me to save you? Like, do you want to save 50 grand? Do you want to save 100 grand?
Yeah.
Like, you tell me.
Well, I had someone say, well, we're paying you a lot of money. And I said, well, you can always hire somebody else, but you're not going to get the same
Absolutely.
service.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the same results. And that's on you if you decide to do that, not me.
I always say you can hire the guy I taught how to do it, or you can hire me.
Right. 100%. That's how I do that all the time. And it's, it's the truth. I mean, it's the same thing in the creative world. Oh, you did that really fast. Well, you're not paying for me to do it fast. You're paying for me to do it and do it well, right? So time.
Ooh, look at that fat glob.
Yeah. So Brian, you were away. I was asking you how full term was going, and love to hear an update on how things are going up there at the farm, bro.
Hey. Nice to see you.
Good to
Sorry.
see you too, bro.
Yeah. Things are going great. I've been totally just tucked in. Thanks for asking. And just like putting all my time, almost all of it, right into the farm this year. And it's exhausting, but very rewarding. So, like, right in line with the conversation earlier, too, just digging in. I really worked on the soil this year ahead of time. So, I went back in and like a month ahead of time, charged up the microbes, charged up the protein, residual for them, got thicker on really good dank Old Neighbors organic certified mulch, hay mulch, like bought on purpose for that mulch both my big houses. And yeah, like making changes to improve health of soil. Josh was mentioning earlier, like maintaining the farm, once it's built. So I've been putting a ton of time, just like circles, doing the landscaping solo mish here, like keeping 3 to 4 days a week kind of thing with that, and balancing between the business, really digging into a lot of new flowers and vegetables. Love to show you around up here, you and the family on even too. It's actually nice for kiddos to come. I got second run of brook trout stocked in the pond out back. And
I was just fishing with my daughter the other day, and she's like, I want to do more of this. I was like, let's go.
Well, come on up here. I'm trying to go with like fly fishing only, and I'm rusty.
Oh, great. I don't know anything about fly fishing, but you can teach me.
Very little. Here, I'm actually like trying to get back into it a little myself there. But yeah, cool. Things are good, and working on, the plant health, soil health. Plants, knock wood, but look better than they pretty much ever have, and winning on time, and great new breeding types are out there and stuff. Really juicy. Been kind of taking a little time off of social media actually lately, and just like dedicated to the farm space,
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's good to hear.
How are you doing?
Oh man, super busy. We're we just launched a vape line with solventless. We extracted some terpenes and did a blend. Cannabis, we did cultivar specifics under a brand called Radio that we just launched, and then we're about to launch our solventless and kind of turn on the lab fully for the first time. We've never done that. We just kind of have been worrying about flower and just trying to build off of that, because the market is just not, they don't really understand. Like, I know they want rosin, but like, I don't want to make a bunch of stuff that's going to sit there, So I've been trying to help build the market and build our name and, what we do in the market. And it's, it's been great. I mean, we're outpacing some of these big MSOs, man. I mean, it feels good, but it's, we've got a mountain to climb, it's New York. But yeah, we're just about to turn the lab fully on, and when I get back, we'll be ripping that thing fully. So yeah, it'll be exciting. And then I can start like ideating on like, what do we do next? How do we, how much material can we get on a consistent basis? And then we can start talking about other things that I want to do with friends such as Marcus and others. So we, it's slow, but it's good. We're doing it at our pace, because it's totally self-funded. We've, it's just us. So it's been cool. It's been a lot of work, man. But I like it. I love it. I wouldn't change it. It's a lot of pain, but a lot of reward at the same time.
Good luck, and you're like one of the best and at what you do and everything around. So honestly,
thanks, man.
For success, and anyone whose gets to be in line with what you guys do is actually going to feel that passion, feel the love for it. And it's like a sponge. So it comes out, and it's not coming from other places. It's coming, from the heart that you have for this,
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I like Marcus, like just like Marcus, man. I live for this. Like, this is like, this
only encompasses my life. The other side of this red wall is my grow room.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
I live in my barn.
it's
Age
just
45.
I don't know what else I'd be doing. You know,
Word, man.
for
But
real. But
yeah,
it's you know,
you're good
it's
at it.
just one of those things. But it's yeah, it's cool. It's been fun. It's been a journey for sure, and keep going. You know, but yeah, I hope to get our more square footage going for greenhouses into next year, and then that'll unlock a lot. Because it's, I mean, to be honest, New York just doesn't have quality. Like, I feel like I'm an outlier,
I've been
and then I
hearing
have to
that.
like fight. I have to fight to like be like, no, like this has 3.57% terps, guys. Like,
Yeah, I
have you
just heard
even
that.
seen that
Yeah,
before on the market? Like,
did a
no.
medical event. I did a medical event up here, and someone that was really into the piatella, into the gas. They had a name that was around gas, something gardens, and anyway, they were really into it. I said, "Well, what's going on?" They had a med card from New York in 2021, and they just said, "Oh, we'd come up here, to Maine to love these events with micro small batch people, and they know the ones that they're after for small batch and very aware. I think know the difference that is one of the differences. Not to knock macro or micro either way, is that's just a difference in the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's also a choice. I feel like people, big or small, you have the choice to do batching and you have the
sure.
choice to do
Yeah,
certain things. I mean, I think Marcus and I have both seen the biggest of the biggest grows, and we've seen greatness in the
yeah.
biggest and the smallest, and we've also
It's like
seen the
choice to
opposite,
do
right?
it, and choice to buy
So
it also, both ends.
yeah, and I would even say I've seen small grows that just don't look great. I mean, let's be
Absolutely.
real.
Yeah.
So it's there's levels to the game in every aspect of it, but yeah, I think it's just time. Everyone always asks me like, well, what do you think's going to happen? I'm like, well, people are either going to get better at agriculture, or they're going to quit, and that's just the where it goes. Like either you get better at what you're doing and improve, and you keep going, and things don't happen overnight. I always say this to everyone in our industry. Everyone thinks it's supposed to happen so fast and so methodical, and it's
No.
just that's not the way it works. I mean, you do make incremental, you know headway, but it may not be in the form of like this like overnight success. You have to keep pushing it to the point, and I encourage other hash makers and young hash makers and young growers out there. You have to keep going. I think Marcus and I are great examples, and Marcus is a great example. Even he's done far more than I have, and I feel like you keep going and you keep pushing ahead because you have faith in yourself and you believe in yourself. And I encourage others to take that stance because it's very difficult. This is a very difficult in and out of the
Yeah.
industry. If you're even in the industry, it's
Ups
hard to
and
even
downs.
grow a plant, man.
Yeah.
So I encourage those out there to take the risks and don't beat yourself up too hard because, you know, success comes over time, and that's something you have to work towards. You don't just get it. And there's
Yeah.
going to be inefficiencies. Shit's going to happen,
I,
you know?
it
Hey,
comes.
hey, organic farming is on fire right now. He just wrote this, sorry to cut in, but Colin, your breeder alter ego, your band name for Yankin Roots is Paulin Calmer.
Calmer. Yo, Colin Calmer. Yo, so it's funny. So my music name,
That's so good, dude.
my friends call me my close, not my close, but most people that know me from the musical background, they call me Calmer because that's just what they call me. So that is hilariously on point that you did that. That's fucking awesome, man.
I
Hell
didn't
yeah.
say it. It was Organic Farming who said it. Who also named our band the Yankin Roots. So he said that, and then he goes, Colin is also in Yankin Roots. Like he's doing a documentary in the chat or something.
Hell yeah. No,
That's
it's
fucking pretty
yeah,
funny.
that's awesome. But yeah, I don't know. My moral of that is just like you got to keep going. You only fail if you give up.
Colin, do you think there's like some of the obviously all over the place, but New York has some of the dankest dank that I've ever had in my life over on the East Coast. So it's not to say that at all. I think there might be a chance that some of the people are either taken care of or maybe not hiding, but in the shadows. And it's maybe,
I
or
just
what do you think?
I don't think a lot of the guys that got micro licenses are fully operational and that's also the truth. And then those that are doing like what I have, which is a 12,500, they're not stage. They're like going, they're going 12. Managing 12,500 square feet of canopy that's a
Yeah,
different ball game than
absolutely.
anything you've ever seen if you've never done that before. So wearing those shoes as an example, I think you have to grow into them, and it's something that takes time. I can't say that when I first ripped off 14,000 square feet, everything went perfect. I'll tell you right now, it did not. And you learn, and then you get good, and you figure it out. And that's it. I remember when I was like in 2018, my partners at the time were like, "Who do we hire to run a half an acre indoor?" And I was like, "Well, let's ask a question to ourselves. How many half-acre indoor facilities do exist in the United States right now?" And they're like, I don't know." And I was like, "I bet I could count them on my hand."
Trial and error.
And to find someone who has done that before, I don't think you could count them on your hand. So I think you need to have perspective, and we all forget that the largest grows in Northern California were around 100 pounds, right, Etienne? I mean, the elders would get pissed. They'd freak out at you if you went too big. I mean, they'd be like, "Dude, you're blowing it up. We're gonna all lose it
Yeah,
all."
you're gonna expose us, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You have locals that would be like, "Yo, calm it the fuck back, kid. We're gonna get us all busted."
100%. I mean, I know I had that a season I spent out there. We were just
Yes,
ballsy East Coast kids.
yeah, some of them still go there, but like you said, probably not appreciated in the neighborhood so much.
Yeah, well, you got to play nice to be able to survive. I think that's one of the
Right.
things that I've learned my elders taught me is it's cool to be under the radar, dude, because your longevity is,
Sure.
So, I think that's the other part of it is like growing large scale is difficult. And it's something you have to kind of work into and learn, and over time, and you never really stop learning. I mean, it's just even today, I learn every day. So I think it's important for people to recognize that our industry came up out of the depths of nowhere and started doing square footage that no one in their entire lives has ever done.
Do they have smaller square footage, like micro,
Yeah.
small down?
Yep. So it's 3,500 square feet for micro.
Yeah,
Some of those are getting online, but it's just not a whole lot of herb, I mean, it's just
yeah,
not.
yeah. It's gone.
It's gone immediately if it's good.
Yeah,
Or it kind of it's tough because it either sits there, right? And if you have such small square footage, there is such a thing as too small,
yeah.
from just a dollars and cents thing. So that's what I'll say about New York is I think New York has amazing potential. There's so much talent in the state. I know there is. There's incredible hash makers there. There's an incredible scene that needs to be fostered and unveil itself, but it's just time, you know. I think it really is. It's taken a lot longer than any other market I've ever seen to kind of even get its footing. And I would say the retail side of things is underwhelming for most people because of the production side. So yeah. But I'll tell you, we have fantastic flower. Like some of the like I do not smoke much flower, but this smokes so well. It smokes just beautiful. It tastes great. So Um, so yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Time. I think every market out there right now is like going through transitions. Um, but there's still great producers, amazing talent. Um, and I'm kind of happy the reset's happening a little bit. I think we can pull some of these people that were like, I'm out, back in once it kind of resets itself. And there's a lot of brilliant minds that put so much time and energy into our space, and I don't like to hear that they've moved on. It's even from the science side, there's people that are like, I can't get funding to do my research. And
And I'm
that's
I'm over here opening the door, saying goodbye to them all. Goodbye. No, I'm just joking. A lot of people have disappeared, man. There's no doubt about it. I will say that I'm very happy to see the parasites leave and the
yes,
people who never belonged in the first place. But the people you're talking about, the people that did belong and that put so much time and energy, they
yeah,
absolutely, the ones that left, I do hope to see them make a reemergence. And it happens. I mean, I remember when Mr. Soul the breeder guy disappeared forever and then just
I
popped up
do.
like 15 years later or something. It was like, hey, remember me? And we were like, fuck yeah, we remember you, dude. Holy shit, welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember asking you about him like years ago, and you're like, yeah, dude, he went to do wine or something. Like, I can't remember. Like, you said something like that to me.
Well, that might have been Steve. I don't know if that's what he
Were you-
did. Breeder Steve definitely went and did wine. He got
Okay.
the
Yeah, that's who I'm
Rolling
thinking of,
Dale.
Breeder Steve.
He got the Rolling Dale. Yeah, because Mr. Soul was C99, Cinderella
Got it.
99.
Right, right.
So, but
Mr.
you're thinking Soul, SOL, Spice of Life.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was thinking of Spice of Life. But yeah, Mr. Soul, C99. I grew actually, uh, dude, I think I grew like 30,000 seeds of his stuff.
That's a
And
lot.
I saw a lot of cool stuff in his varietals, like C99 throwing like candy gas stuff that I'd never thought could exist in those lines. It was really cool. Um,
I
yeah,
still
it's
have
very,
the original seeds from him that I traded bubble bags for in like 2000.
That's
it's
Brothers
awesome.
Grimm, right? Brothers Grimm seeds.
Brothers
Yeah,
Grimm's, yeah. I got them
I,
from Soul.
they're like East Coast Canadian company, I
I
believe,
think
or what?
he's from Boston originally. That's where he found C99, I guess. That's what
Oh,
he told me. And
cool.
then I think he just kind of went underground. I mean, he was all over the forums. I remember him being a big contributor
Yeah.
back in the day. I mean, always writing great stuff, like good knowledge. I remember him on the BCGA forums, like the British Columbia's Growers Association forum. That one that was like the gray page where you know all the old heads used to be OT1, and I mean, I don't know who else. Who was the other gentleman? He got the there was
Sly was his partner.
Sly was there. Who was
Sly
the
was
other
his
guy?
partner.
Who was the guy who was the Canadian breeder that he's just his name's slipping my mind right now.
Well, the only other guy is Rick, Mr. Soul.
No, I'm talking just from the BCGA. I think he gave Mr. Soul the seeds that he
Oh, from
found
the Brothers
C98.
Grimm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was Duke Diamond. No,
Dude,
or no.
No, Duke Diamonds came much
Oh no,
later.
he did. That's right. That's right.
Who
That's
was the
right.
Canadian guy that passed away?
There's been so many, dude.
I just can't remember his name. I'd have to go on the forum and see the handle again. And I'd
Yeah,
be like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
that guy. But anyway, he was. There's a whole crew of guys that were just like next level in my eyes at that time.
Well, he
So
definitely had a partnership with Heaven's Stairway, the guy that ran didn't isn't that the same guy that ran Overgrow?
it is, yeah. Shebang.
No,
That's a.
no, Shebang just put it together. There was another guy that owned it.
I thought
Shebang was
Shebang
the
took over.
well,
Anyway,
yeah, in the
yeah,
early days there was another guy. He got busted up here. He got caught with like gold bars and like all sorts of crazy shit. And they took the Overgrow servers. The RCMP took the servers because of Heaven's Stairway, the seed sales.
I remember that because that was when Bog. I got a message from Bog. He's like, I'm not be able to send you seeds for months. And I was like,
Right.
what is happening? He's like, delete your profile. It's like I can't even access it.
I
'Cause
know.
we used to send our addresses, man, through the
Jesus
VMs.
Christ. Oh my God.
Yeah, smart days.
Smart days indeed. Yeah, just hit me up. I'll be fine.
It'll be fine. Send them. I
Send
used
it
to have
right to
like
my
two
house.
two
See
PO
this?
boxes.
Well, yeah, PO boxes are one thing. That's fine, but like people sending their actual addresses, that's mental.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. That was.
Probably not advised.
But yeah, there was there was a roost over there, man. It was like everybody was getting roasted because the RMCP took the servers, eh? And
The
then
RCMP, yep, they
yeah,
did.
yeah. And then
People
that
were
was
tripping.
kind of the end. Like I feel like we lost a lot of history in that moment. Like the actual like words that we all remember being spoken are no longer hard copied and able to be referenced anymore. And
Right.
it's interesting, man.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, he moved to Belgium in like 2002. So it was very soon after Overgrow went down that Mr. Soul just bounced. And then he didn't revive that seed company till 2015. And
Wow.
I think really it was probably sub cool who really helped build Mr. Souls and Brothers Grimm's popularity. Because how popular could they have really been over the course of just 2 to 3 years of existence?
Yeah, I mean, Sub was, I mean, God, let's give him his flowers where it's due. I mean, he's the one that, I mean, who else was really breeding for flavor at the time?
Dude,
Like
all
he
I know is
was.
everything he made was fire, and people would try to talk shit about him, and I'd be like, dude, that guy has fire everything. Every seed he's ever sent me was fire. I like him. I'm sorry you don't, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna
DJ
fuck with him.
I think DJ Short's probably the other only one, I think, Colin, that I can
Yeah.
remember. But I
Not as
think
much
you're right.
variety though.
No, 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 not as much variety, but he was specifically going for flavor, whereas Subcool was going for a palette of flavors, right? He really
Yeah.
was
Well,
a
well,
pioneer in that result.
he understood the plant differently because he was very early on one of the first people I showed water hash to, and he took to it like a pig on shit. Like he was all about the hand washing. He wouldn't do the machine wash for many, many, many years. He was really like promoted the spoon, shout out to the press club. He supported the spoon mixed method, which, was the original way I had showed him. And he had gotten the 1 gallon bags like almost the day we made them. And he was running little bits of batches of his varieties, and he would basically come up with different flavor profiles that way, have an understanding of what each plant was doing, right down to the isolated and extracted and properly cured resin, and his shit always melted into a liquid. So he had that tool very early on in his breeding quiver of making hash and testing the hash, which a lot of breeders, like 99%, were absolutely not doing. And he understood that super early on, and it's crazy because I showed all of them. I was trying to show every one of them. That was the audience, but not a lot of them took. Sub took to it, and I think it was a massive advantage to him because A, he already had that olfactory and that understanding of what, like, his ability to perceive notes and aromas was
Yeah.
highly tuned, let's just say. And then he
100%.
also had a network on how to access different flavor profiles. And then of course he was able to produce, whether he was a spectacular, whether Ryan would say Subcool followed proper breeding practices or maybe didn't, Subcool's genetics were always fire. Were always super, super tasty. Like that Quavo was such a producer of hash, like a great washer and super high quality producer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always give
Dude.
props to Sub.
Yeah. I mean, dude, when he passed away, I'm not gonna lie, I went to every single seed bank and bought as many of his packs of seeds as I could. I'm not kidding. I have like probably 300 packs of his. Seriously. Because of exactly what you said. It's unmistakably amazing the things you can find within his lines.
Oh yeah,
So,
he's
like,
got good stuff.
if you can find his pack somewhere, go buy him up
Dude, he sent me
because
his whole collection like multiple
yeah,
times. He just sent
dude,
me, he's like, I get a pack from Sub. It's this huge box. I'm like thinking he sent me a bong or something. I'm like, what is this? He's like, open it up. Fucking crack
bro,
this
when he
box
got
open
out
and
of
it's
jail in Canada,
whole
I
seed
gave him back
fucking
Jack's cleaner.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that was
had
my
it.
buddy. My buddy Ro took care of his place while he was in jail in Canada as well and
Dude, he had
maintained his
balls
whole
of
scene.
steel. Let's
I
just
know.
call it out. Dude
I
went and
know.
did large scale up in the Kootenays or somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
like
awesome.
it was so it was
That
awesome. Yeah, it was
vortex was so nice. Anything that had Apollo 13 and Space Queen were amazing. Vortex was both of them.
Vortex was one of my favorite varietals to grow on the East Coast outside because it would never have anything, no botrytis, no, any spot mold or anything, no powdery mildew, nothing, and it would just be the most tasty stuff ever. And it
Yeah.
was outside. It was like incredible, man. I remember growing that stuff in the
Well,
in the
think about it.
2000s.
The Space Queen, that was Mr. Soul C99, but he crossed it with the Romulan. to make the Space Queen. So
That's why
Space
his stuff
Queen
was
was
so heady.
Dude, the Space Queen was so fucking spectacular. And then he crossed Space Queen with
Wrong.
Apollo 13,
Oh,
which
right on.
which
Yeah,
became
yeah. Vortex.
the Vortex, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
those are
incredible
old
varietal.
school bomb varieties. That C99 was so fruity and that Romulan was so piney. To cross them both, make the Space Queen, super fruity notes, super potent, not a weak cultivar by any means. Definitely cool to see those lineages, followed down the
Jilly
line.
bean as well. Big shout out to Jill and that outcross. That crop that Jilly bean is next level in terms of taste.
Yeah.
Stuff's great.
Well,
Even the older.
Space Queen, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say like what the Jilly bean opened up a whole new palette for him that they never really had before.
Totally.
Just that super deep candy that just didn't have any gas. It's just candy.
It's what he was always
Um,
looking for, things he didn't have.
yeah,
That's why he would find
sure.
them. I was just going to say Queen was obviously it was used in a lot of different breedings, but you can find it in Agent Orange, Chernobyl, and Corkle.
Oracle Chernobyl created the gosh, there was a cut that was created from the Chernobyl that was like just next level. Can't remember what we used to call it. Oh man. It was like a
Dude, so
heavy
many
sativa.
names. It's
It
too
was
bad there
unbelievable.
wasn't more like fingerprinting and really identifying. I liked what Mojave said on the aroma show the other day in regards to, where Philos kind of dropped the ball was not drawing the line in the sand and kind of saying, look, we're going to take from the people we believe have the closest representation to the oldest school genetic of that type, rather than just accept it from the whole world. Draw the line, pick the people who we know the stories and the lineages and use those ones as the basis. And it's just too bad we don't have that from the last 40 or 50 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I met Philos, I gave him 30 samples and I was getting kind of housed by my partners being like them kind of like questioning me like, "Oh, are these real? Are you sure these are real?" I had like a proud dad Stewart moment when they came back and every single clone that I said I had what it was came back as what it was, right? Meaning sour was sour, chemdog was chemdog, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you're right when you submit samples and maybe they don't know where they came from, you know, um, and then they submit it as something and it actually doesn't end up being that. I think that's where it becomes convoluted and confusing for the next phase of that, which is how do you talk about it into the open world and invite other people in to look at it and see the data when the data is wrong. You know, it doesn't, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I feel like that's where Canopedia picked up is like they don't make they're not there to make seeds. They're to make tools for you as a breeder and as a if you're a cannabis enthusiast to better understand the world in which you occupy. And I think that's a better. I wish Philos had taken that stance rather than the stance that they've taken today. Although I don't dislike Philos, I'll say that openly. I think that they've done they've tried to do good. They've tried, but they've definitely had some missteps. So shit, am I just
They
frozen?
did. They did have a few missteps, but like you say, maybe
Anyone?
someone will come along and do it again better. I like the idea of aggregating the data. If the data all exists, maybe one day AI can aggregate it in a unique and cool way and create graphs and concepts and ideas from this data that currently we're really unable to fully understand. But yeah, I'm telling you, I was really excited about that aromatic volatile compound show, dude, and going deep into the flavors and that's to me the direction I want to take in cannabis. Now that I have my brand establishing in states, I want to shift my attention to make sure that I'm working with people who that is their focus. The people I want to work with who are breeding cannabis, that needs to be their focus for me to really want to breed with them. So, breed with them, to work with them. I
Well,
need, I
one.
need, I need, yeah, you like that, Etienne? For me to breed with them. I'm gonna breed
Well,
those motherfuckers.
well, I kind of wanted to take it in another direction. I had a kind of a question. An elder kind of reached out and asked. I wrote a long diatribe on it, but I thought it would be an interesting question to ask because you've got your experience in Canada. I've had my experience here in America, and of course, Colin, you've worked on both sides of the fence here. So this is a universal kind of series of questions. So they come from Fred Gardner, who is a elder in our movement who started O'Shaughnessy's, the newspaper. So I mean, he comes highly regarded. He did his undergrad at Harvard. You know what I'm saying? He was also a military veteran back in the '60s. So he's 81. So he's an old cat. So this is a question he sent. It is widely acknowledged that the civil rights movement, by ending segregation, not everywhere, changed our society significantly. The medical marijuana movement, by ending prohibition, not everywhere, also changed our society significantly, but it has not been given a corresponding acknowledgement. Why?
Great question. I
You,
mean, go
oh,
ahead,
sorry.
Marcus.
No,
Yeah,
no, I
go
was
for it.
just, is that you're asking us to answer that question
Yeah,
for
I'm
you?
just kind of I'm wondering your thoughts. I sent my thoughts and ideas as well as Best Friend Farms there, as your input too here. Why do you think, that's the case? Because, I have my ideas and thoughts, but I thought it was worth pondering as well as wondering your thoughts because of your perspective in Canada, because it was a series of court cases that got combined into one that allowed you to finally arrive at your legalization through the courts, where we don't, of course, have that here in America. We have a hodgepodge of 10th Amendment realities, each one different from the other, no two alike. So whereas we know the civil rights movement was quite significant, as well as it became a small regional, then national, then international issue. The same that cannabis has, but it doesn't appear in the same light. Why do you think that may be?
I would say that because we're still in the infancy of cannabis being legal and accepted, and even still, it's not really legal and accepted. Even in your own country, it's still federally illegal. So I think that, the civil rights movement has had so many decades to sink in and soak up. I don't think it was so wildly respected, maybe 6 months to a year or 5 years after it might have taken the 25 to 30 to 40 years for them to look back through the line of history and see just what a profound moment in historical time that was. And the history of it is very interesting too, because obviously, like I grew up very, pardon the pun, but it was very black and white slavery. It was black and white. There was white slave owners and black slaves. And then as I got older, I learned about all these other groups that were enslaved. And I learned that indigenous people enslaved different indigenous groups. And I learned that the Irish were enslaved. And I just didn't know any of this stuff. And even when I kind of talked about it, people were kind of like, would get sensitive about it, like, no, slavery is for this group and this group alone. And I am quite certain that slavery still exists to this day, from the trafficking of children to the trafficking, sex slavery, labor slavery. Like it's definitely not over in that sense, um, which is fucking terrible when you think about it. But yeah, I just think cannabis is still a little bit younger. I also have always thought, and this is the conspiracy person in me, I've always thought that, you know, I guess to the deepest, like if we were on the 5 grams of mushrooms and I really cracked open and told you, I'd probably say, look, like the demons, they don't like the cannabis. The demons, they like the sugar and the cigarettes and the booze and the pharma. They like what my friend Terry, the guy that used to make that red oil back in the day from the Kootenays, would call the deadeners, the soul deadeners, the ones that just twist you off at both ends, just twist you off. So now you're disconnected on both ends instead of being in this like morphogenetic resonance of your species. Um, yeah, it just it seemed to me that cannabis would change the way you I was still trying to wrap my head around it when they finally gave it to us, when they finally said we could have it and that legalization was going to happen. Even though I get we fought tooth and nail for it, it's still them deciding that they lost. Do you know what I mean? Like, even when you beat them, it's kind of them deciding. They still like, it's almost like they have to let you beat them. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. They control the system completely. Even my wife was she was like, isn't it weird that they're now letting you guys have this? Like, what are they going to do? How is this going to be a negative? Because they don't, Canada, a decade or more after having a medical cannabis platform, the Health Canada states and makes a public quote that says, we do not believe there's any medicinal value to cannabis. Yet they're Health Canada and they're in charge of the distribution and control and regulatory framework of cannabis as a medicine in Canada. It seems to me as a conflict of interest if that group made a comment or a quote saying, we do not believe in the medicinal efficacy of cannabis, that they would probably be removed from that group and you would bring in people that understood the medical efficacy of cannabis. So, long story short, that's kind of how I feel. Maybe one day it'll be different because there are strange similarities with cannabis and segregation and just how you kind of became that segregated group. Oh, you're over here. I'll never forget the first time the customs guy said that to me. Oh, sorry, sir, you're in this line. I'm sure that's what it sounded like exactly in 1947 when you went to go use the bathroom and you got told, oh no, sorry, you have too much melanin in your skin, you're in this line. Because I'll tell you, that's definitely how I heard it. And then I heard it for decades ensuing after the first time I heard it, because legalization took a long time. Like it certainly wasn't when I was 17. It was like more like when I was 46 or 45 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, dude. Like the social construct of it all is really still in its infancy. So you have people like, for instance, I rolled a joint up yesterday. Someone was like, "Oh, do you feel weird about having that right now?" And I looked at him and said, "Why would you say that? I don't feel weird at all. This is, I mean, you're holding a beer. Like they were literally holding a beer." It's
Yeah,
like,
because it's part of the social construct, and ours,
yeah,
the propaganda is part of the social construct for us. So even yesterday, I was with my very Christian father-in-law
yeah,
sitting by the fire at my neighbor's house, and I just pulled out my Bowman, and he was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, this is like a little electronic dab tool." He's like, "Well, what is that?" I'm like, "Well, the bubble hash that I make, and then I squash it into oil. Well, I can put it in this little bowl here." And I can take a nice little rip. And
sure.
he's just like, oh, interesting. He's holding it. He's looking at it. He's like, look at that. It looks just like a Coleman. That is hilarious. And he passes it back, and he's going to end up having a beer. He does not use cannabis in any way, shape, or form. But this allowed him to see cannabis without the filter of propaganda. This didn't look enough like a bong to set his energies off. And this looked nothing like a bong. So it was a totally new thing that no propaganda had ever been created against. So he was able to be like, well, would you look at that? Isn't that neat? That's wild. I'm like, yeah, and then you just put the water piece, the mouthpiece on, and you got a glass piece. I said the guy was so smart, Roger, Jolly Roger, who created this company, is that he's created an item that may be perceived to take money out of the pockets of the glass blower who's making pipes for us to take dabs with. Well, this is more convenient. This is more portable. This has no propaganda against it. It checks all of these boxes for new people to be exposed to these products without that wall going up that they don't even know they're putting up, but the media has put that in them for so many years ago. And he said, oh wow, so that's like what do you call those long those glass things? They're really long. And I'm like a bong? He's like, yeah, like a bong. He's like, those look scary to me. And I'm like, listen, I'm telling you, if this was 10 years ago and I had my blowtorch here and I was blowtorching quartz, you'd also think it was hardcore. It would change the way you perceive. And that change is so deeply and systematically embedded in our culture that you have to move around it and get decades under your belt before you'll be able to come back to a group of people who never had that propaganda fed into them. Because 80 and 70 and 60-year-old people have so much of that propaganda embedded in them. That is one of the reasons I think Jolly Roger has success with this. The other reason is, did he turn his back on the culture? No. He created a simple glass top that you could twist off. This little guy right here, just pop it right off. And now you can inspire glass blowers to create creations for this pipe. And now you have a combination of this roots, the group that started it all, and super noobs like soccer moms and people like my wife's uncle Brent, who's very he's not out puffing big bowls on the regular, but he was able to hold this in his hand and have no ill will. I got to sit next to the fire, rip a bunch. He's like, oh, look at that, the light through it. I'm like, yeah, man, there's a light you can turn on and it shines. And he was just thinking it was so cool. And so I got to give props to Puffco and many other companies that are sort of pushing the boundaries on the normalization of dab culture, removing the torch from the scene and bringing it back to something that's just a little more civilized, if you will.
I did
So
the same
there's
thing with the proxy yesterday. I actually let someone like smell jars and they're like, "Oh, this one smells hoppy." And they're beer drinkers and they're like, "Oh, this one smells like floral." And I started going in on their aromatics and talked about it. And that's what kind of got them. Then I pulled the pipe out and I was like, "You see this? You put this in there." And it was like, "Oh, it was like very it didn't feel it like a bong's kind of like what you're alluding to. It's kind of offensive. Like people are like, "That's offensive." I don't know, man. Like that's a bong. You're like, well,
it triggers people.
It totally does, and like it shouldn't, but it does. And but the for like you're just saying now, the proxy is like that medium, and same thing with the Puffco Peak. It's like you could get people to try something they wouldn't try. It's cool.
Yeah,
Truly
and
is.
Bingo is saying, "Stop the torch hate." I'm like, listen, I have love for the torch. It's got a
Yeah.
place in my heart. It is not how I will turn newbies on to dabs and to flavors and profiles. I gave my brother-in-law one of my pivots the other day. He's like, oh, I'm just getting into puffing. I got this stuff called crumble. I'm like, no, dude, we can't have that. So I take him over
Yeah,
to
we
this guy,
can't.
Sir Squish a Lot. This guy, Sir Squish a Lot, who gave me some really nice flavors. I should like at least show them. He was so kind. I think I have them in one of them in here anyway. This one's super duper gassy, like really beautiful, beautiful product. And we're at his place. He's got his torches and he's dabbing us all out. And my brother-in-law is just like, "Whoa, holy shit! Like, what's all this about?" And I'm telling him, I'm like, "Yeah, my brother-in-law here, Ryan. He's just getting into puffing. He's like 50 years old. He's just getting into it. He's got crumble." And he's like, "Oh no, we can't have that." He grabs one of his jars, and it's like a jar, like like this size. It's not like one of these. And he just pulls this jar out and he puts it in my brother-in-law's hand. He's like, "Here, man, that ought to get you started. It's second press, but you'll love it." And I opened it up and I was like, "Damn, this is a nice second press." He's like, "Yeah, I press pretty low temp." Gives him this beautiful jar. In that moment, I knew I have to give Ryan my pivot. I just right this minute, I have to open my little bag, which I did. I opened this little green bag and I think I have a pivot in here right now. I do. I have a pivot and a proxy, which I only need one of each. I don't need two of each. So I hooked him up with the pivot. He got the rosin, and I felt like we had done God's work, me and Jamie, me and Sir Squishes a lot. We'd passed on, turning someone on. Listen, prior to that pivot existing, what could we have given him in that moment that wouldn't be like a $500 gift? It just made it so much more affordable. It's like 150 bucks or whatever. It's like, you know what, dude, you deserve this. I want you to have this. Like, so he's, I gave him a whole tub of Glob Mops. Shout out to Bowie and the good folks at Glob Mops, always keeping us cleaned up nicely with the I still have like, my God, I must have I don't even know how many of these I have, but it must be like 100 boxes. He sent me a giant box one day. He's like, hey, I'm gonna send you some Glob Mops. I thought he was gonna send me like 5 of these, and he sends me like this box that is literally like so full. I was like, you are the man, Bowie, but you're also a fucking crazy motherfucker. Thank you. That's
Great,
it.
though.
That's it.
That's awesome. Hooking them up like that is like, that is God's work. That's like setting someone up properly to have great experiences. And that's unique, like, I don't think any of us had someone that was like, hey, like, here, use that. We all kind of had to figure it out. So that's awesome. And it changes everyone's experience. Like when you take a hot dab, man, it's like you're like, I don't like it. I don't like that stuff. And you may not understand why, but it's
Yeah.
because of that red hot dab that you don't like it anymore. And that's,
It's a big part of it for sure. I think
you know,
delivering proper dabs and temps and low temps and all these, or dab rights and the tools for properly recognizing the temperature and delivering that proper to me is such a special thing that it's of course you can share Wade memorial stuff. We would love. No, we have not done. I shouted Wade out earlier. I shouted out Sam and talked a little bit about them, but we did not share any of the memorial stuff. I did get an email from Monica that I lost. Yes, there you go. Perfect. July 12th. So hopefully maybe she'll even let us stream it. I'll understand if she doesn't want to, but we would love to stream and all be a part of Wade's memorial. I don't know if you're going, Etienne, if someone's going
Oh,
that can film it, if you've reached
I
out to
not only am
Monica.
I going, I've been asked to moderate the story, his life. So I guess I'm going to be moderating different people from his life, speaking about it. So yes, I am going to be actually part of it. So yes, it's open to everybody. It's in Nevada City, and yeah, I'll be going with my emotional support human. My friend Mike and I are going to go down because we used to go visit Wade and take him medicine, as well as we took him a Puffco, which helped him greatly. You saw when we shared that here. And sorry, I get choked up when talking about this because I miss my friend. Um, but yeah, we're going to get together and celebrate his life because we love and we miss him. And this is going to be for us and especially for Monica. So send your love and appreciation. And that's where we will be at Miners Foundry. So if you're able to come, cool. Stop by, say hello. If you're unable to, I'll do the best that we can, but I'm part of it, so I won't be able to be the streaming.
Yeah, well,
But
I'll reach out to
we'll
Monica
see.
and figure that out if she wants that in the first place. And if she does, I will absolutely stream that. Even though it's on a Saturday, we will hit it. We will bring it. We will be here the whole time, and I'll let you guys know. You'll see it on the channel show up if Monica wants that. She sent me an email while I was away. I opened it. I glanced through it. I was like, oh, I don't have time to read this. I got to read it later. Then I lost it. This happens to me all the time with emails. They just disappear into the ether. I have so many different accounts that are feeding the one umbrella account that I mean, it's probably only less than 1% of my emails, but it definitely happens, and it happened with hers. So I did send her a text the other day. I haven't heard back from her yet, but hopefully we can stream that because that would be just a nice vibe to listen to people say beautiful things about Wade, to hear about Wade, to see photos of Wade. I would very much like that because I can't just go down there right now until I get that waiver happening. So.
It's okay. You'll be with us in spirit regardless. So we understand, but we do look forward to a time when you can share space and time with us.
Yeah. Well, we love Wade, he was such an important aspect of our Sundays. It's be great to honor him. You know, so what we should do is, I was thinking about it, is I was thinking if we get some of his genetics, we could maybe do some outcrosses and provide them back to the community. That might be something that, in the spirit of Wade, might be a great thing to do.
Dude, we could sell them for $5,000 a pack. How sick would that
Yo,
be, bro? Oh
yo.
my God, dude. Right after Sam passed away, there were people with Instagram accounts claiming they had the last of his haze seeds, like just the greasiest
Ugh,
shit. It's like,
so
hey,
gross.
don't forget, humans are still shitty. I'm just like,
Ugh.
really? Like you gotta be like that shitty? Like, oh, I
Yeah,
do
they had
not
somebody
think
claiming to be his son, someone claiming to be
that
his
was
dog.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Same
it's
was
thing
just,
good.
happened to Bog. Remember Bog? Same thing happened
yep.
to dude, there's so even same thing happened to Sub. I mean, dude, there was a million people trying to say they had Sub cool seas. It was crazy. It always happens. Humans they're just insane. It's just it's just sad, man. You know, being opportunistic in a time of mourning. It's just greasy, as Marcus said.
I
Greasy.
guess everyone has to have different lessons to learn things. I don't know. I try to look at it through the Wade filter. And Wade would have some super positive filter to look at it through. He always had such just positive words. His words never led you down a path of like, negativity, which I think was why it was so difficult for him to share his passing with us and his end of life experience that he was going through while he was here, because he didn't want to seem like a complainer, but at the same time, I don't know. I just always found his words to be so, so wise. This dab's for you, Wade.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
when he came on the show and told us he was gonna. I think I was hosting at the time. He came in and he was told us that he was gonna go off the medication, and it just yeah, I felt it from him. That
Yeah,
he didn't want to express his pain, but he wanted to express his journey. You know, and that's it's unique, man.
Well, thank you, Marcus, for also letting him have a voice to share with us the uncomfortable realities that are reality, right? Because in society, I took a class at West Virginia University on death and dying and
Mm,
how we ignore it in Western culture and society, and how, we hide our old people away in old folks' homes to die as opposed to honoring them. And so, Wade gave us a bird's eye view of the good, the bad, and the ugly, but he did it in a style and a grace that was completely him, and one I think left a strong impression on every single one of us. It's impossible not to.
absolutely.
He was that
Yeah,
profound.
it's super powerful, man. I mean,
Yeah.
guys just he was super powerful. He brought such a good vibe to the show, and I just felt like it was a responsibility more than me being generous or anything like that. I just felt like it was a responsibility to make sure Wade had a good spot to share all this information. And although I never met him in person, he certainly was my brother. We definitely had a good connection. He's just such a good human being. And yeah, it makes me sad to think that he's gone in the physical, but it makes me happy to think that he will definitely live on in the ethereal, in the genetics of cannabis, and I guess in all of our stories and in all of our admiration and respect and loyalty we had for Wade. I'll never forget when he came on Hash Church and showed me a picture of him standing next to Richard Nixon in the White House. I was just like, this motherfucker. I was just like, this is unbelievable. I was like, I just couldn't even believe that was happening. That, like there's another depth to Wade. I had no idea. His story of his first smoking the joint at the camp with the counselors was amazing. He's at fucking camp smoking his first joint. Like I thought that was an amazing story. He had some pretty good ones, his just the helping, listen, we met Wade. No, I met Wade. I don't know how you all met Wade, but I met Wade through Forrest and through the help that he was doing through the Caladrius network. And that was sort of how that began and I can't even remember how I met Forrest, but Hash Church has been amazing. It's a family. I reached out to Colton Turner the other day. I said, bro, we'd love to have you back on the show. We want to hear from you. We want updates. Sometimes it's maybe my lack of ability to do 1,000 things at once. I do sometimes wish I had a Hash Church team, but I reached out to Colton and hopefully he'll reply. I also reached out to Caroline, the hope dealer, as she goes as on Instagram, and she was the mother of the Darren, the boy in 1 billion who had the two super rare diseases and was like on his deathbed when she gave him the oil and brought him back, and he's like in his 30s now, like healthy and happy and living life when he was literally he had already done his funeral at like 11 or 12 years old. He had held over as his, he ran his funeral. So pretty cool to reach out to those people. I wish we could reach out to even more. I wanted to get Ross Albrecht's mom on here and talk about what it's like having Ross out of prison. Get some of these old characters back on and yeah, just remind ourselves that it has been a pretty insane journey in the last 11 years of gathering Sundays on this show. First of all, I thank each and every one of you that are available to come on and want to do it and want to share. I think it's a huge blessing. I definitely want to shout out how cool the sponsorship has been on Hash Church and how cool the sponsors have been. Like no one's laid into me, hey, we don't want to sponsor a show if someone's on there sick and dying. Like the sponsors were so supportive in any way they could be for Wade, and super supportive of Sam before and after the passing. So it just shows you there's a really tight community, and if you can connect to the right ones, it's hard because the community is also like embedded with the business, the industry, and the industry is cutthroat and it's nasty, and there's some real fucking nasty people that you wouldn't ever want to have come across you, and they just travel through the community, and you don't always know. They don't always have a sign like industry shark. They put on a good face sometimes to be a community person. So I think that the 10 plus years that we've been gathering here has created a very cool little community, a micro community of the macro, of the very big cannabis community. I certainly want to thank everyone who comes and watches every week, from Robert in Spain with his cows, Carol LEDs as he goes on as in the chat room there, Bingo Lombardi and John Maddox for always holding it down, OG Brick 420, organic farming with just blasting out the fucking yanking roots and the fucking Holland Calmer, like all in one episode. That was high level. We're giving you high fives on that organic farming. Camden Fragment, Tony Bologna, Susie Sherlock, Lord Sav, Buddy Weeds, all the good folks. You guys show up every week and you talk and you're like respectful. You don't troll. And you seem to desire learning and new information. You come with a very, very positive perspective that I have learned from over the 10 years, because I always come into Hash Church with the perspective of learning. I certainly don't know it all my whole trip, and I tell my kids this all the time. Surround yourself with people who are better at everything. Smarter, better, stronger, faster. Yeah, surround yourself with those people, as many of them as you can, because holy shit, will they ever lift you up. All tides do rise all boats, or tides rise all boats, especially when it comes to quality folks, when you have that quality tide. So I want to thank my quality tide, Etienne, Colin, Brian, Best Friend Farms, Dr. Mark, who was here earlier, Ryan Lee, aka Chimera, and Josh and Kelly from the Dragonfly Earth Medicine Squad. I want to thank the Press Club and their groovy spoons. I like these spoons. I'm gonna get you one, Brian. And of course, Puffco for holding it down. Hemper on this day because, wow, what a nice little gift that was. Cheers, everyone. May the full melt bless your bowl sooner than later. We will join you next Sunday. I feel like I got a good one planned for next Sunday. I'll try to not be sketchy. I'll try to send this email off today at the end of the day for the next week's Hash Church. If you guys have anyone you think I should invite, send it to me by email and I'll certainly add them. Otherwise, go enjoy your day, everybody. Peace
Thank
out.
you.
Thanks, brother.
Peace.